The scientist and thinker asks but one thing of the reader, a personal reaction such as poets and philosophers have always been assured of. It is a hard-working scientist's protest against the secret, unavowed design of the emotional plague to destroy him with poison arrows shot from a secure hiding place.
What happened? What happened is I'm going to have to re-upload a video. Yeah, Simp in the abstract. What also happened is this whole copyright stuff really makes one's blood boil, but in ways that are really convoluted. But I'm going to explain it anyway, because if I have to re-upload the video, I have to explain why I'm re-uploading it, right? So in the video Simp in the abstract, I have this long 20-minute musical segment, a musical score, and I take it for a spin because I'm using a lot of stuff that might be, you know, copyright stricken. So I want to see, before I upload the whole long video, I want to take it for a spin on the backup channel just to see if there's anything in that musical segment that's got all kinds of bells and whistles to it. You know, and just to see if anything's going to get the whole rest of the video bogged down. And so I do that on the second channel. And as I explained in the video, yes, there was a thing in my musical score in this video, but it didn't fully restrict the visibility of the video. It just blocked it in Russia. And so I'm like, I'm okay with that. It's not ideal, but I'm okay with that. I don't want to change a damn thing about that musical score and its many visuals. I'm not doing it. If it's going to be blocked in Russia, so be it. Maybe I'll upload it to the Rumble or something so that the heckler can see it if the heckler cares to see it. You know, I have a heckler from Russia. But the problem is about 3 days ago, I gotta maneuver this, hang on. About 3 days ago, see, that's the original, right? It didn't like the raw stuff. So there's like a minute or so of Austin sacrificing the Undertaker on that Undertaker symbol, and that's what got it initially. That's what got it blocked in Russia, right? So it was a video I uploaded just over a month ago now. And then this thing. Nothing here. Visual. This video can't be seen or monetized. I don't care about this part. But all of a sudden, I peruse my channel and I see Simp in the abstract is gone. There's no alerts. They just sneak in the notification in YouTube Studio. But what was so bad? It was the Mae Young being powerbombed through a table. GIF. That's what they struck me for. Yeah, see? 10 seconds. 10 seconds visual. So the claimant is WWE again. This video can't be seen. The far shorter thing, that's what I'm saying, makes your blood boil. The 10-second thing is enough to get the video to not even be seen a month after the video goes up. So what is this? Is this an AI botch? Or did some human finally come upon this? I gotta close this. And deduce that this is a video that can't be up at all for anyone, even though it was up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and this was the only problem. It was the longer, numerous clips, right? See, the claimant is WWE again. But yeah, I had a lot of, you know, fireworks in the way of music, and therefore, you know, wrestling's a good fit. So I did that. I did those segments. The Raw is from 1999. It's super old. It shouldn't have even blocked it in Russia. But you know what? Fine. Have it your way, modern world, modern claimants. Have it your way. I can live with it. But I can't live with the fact that, see, in some territories, right? In some territories in Russia, I can live with it. I was even humorous about it in the video, because I'm a good sport most of the time. I really am. But then I'm just checking my channel and I'm like, something's missing here. And I notice the freaking video is missing. Where is it? Not that one. See, that's the Raw. That's the one that's got more. The actual one that just killed the video was the one that doesn't even It can't even explain what it is because it knows it's stupid. It's a 10-second clip of Bubba Ray Dudley powerbombing Mae Young. I don't want to play it because, like, if I play it, yeah, see, I don't. It's like she gets powerbombed through a table. She gets powerbombed through a table, and that's what took the whole video down pretty much a month after the video's been up. There's something profoundly wrong with this. Should I trim it? I don't want to trim it. I'll fucking re-upload the video. I was going to re-upload it to Rumble anyway, so I'll just re-upload it, and I'll tweak this, and maybe I'll tweak the Undertaker Austin parts too, so that, you know, the heckler can see the video from Russia. But yeah, this was the final straw. A 10-second thing? Really? The 10-second thing is enough to get the whole video, visibility, fully, you know, blackout. It's enough to black out my video. I will never, unless I endorse the product, that's a good, you know, product that's compatible with integrity, and it's a lot of money such that I don't have to work anymore. Then, maybe then, if you're plugging something that I agree with, and if you want to plug it through me, and if you give me a lot of money such that I don't have to work anymore, then maybe. But those aren't the terms of the deals, usually. See, but like, again, 10 seconds. And then, the one that only got it blocked in Russia, certainly more than 10 seconds. Explain this to me, someone in this world. Please, explain this to me. Simp in the abstract, I'm proud of the video. Sick fucks, yeah. A lot of sick fucks on YouTube and sick ideologies by way of copyright excessiveness. Excessiveness? It's probably a word. Anyway, it's a humorous video, but if I re-upload it, I have to do this very much non-humorous, frustrated rant at the beginning of it to explain why I'm re-uploading it. Maybe I'll just do that after the first humorous segment with the fight between the white guy and the non-white guy, which wasn't a fight. The non-white guy mopped the floor with a white guy. So yeah, I'll keep that as the initial segment, and then I'll explain why I'm re-uploading the video. And the video is now 7 minutes longer than it used to be, which is also bad, but that's okay. This is not a I might as well just get copyright stricken. You know, this whole thing is not good for me. And YouTube's just not good for me anymore. It boils my blood far more than any kind of dopamine hits it affords me. But where to go? Rumble is just all about the money. I just remember signing up for it. It's like, how exactly do you want to make money here? Do you want to make it by dollars and cents? Or do you want to make it by some other kind of, you know... It's like, God, this place is all about the money. And the rest of them are all about the money. But, like, the YouTube is the one place I could always withstand, but just barely. And this kind of stuff, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, in some territories. And I could live with it. And I even made a joke about it because I'm such a good sport. I didn't like that it couldn't be seen in Russia. I didn't, but I ran with it. Fine. You know? I'll do anything for love of uploading, but I won't upload when I know the upload will have this happen to it sneakily weeks in after it's been fine because of a 10-second thing. You know, I'll do anything, but I won't do that. And also, just a lot of the jokes in the Bertney, the Axis of Wretched Bertney video. Yeah, a lot of the jokes only work if you've seen Simp in the Abstract. But now, chronologically, everything's just messed up. Because I'm not going to take this one down so I can upload this one after Simp in the Abstract is re-uploaded. I'm not touching this one. But then, like, the joke chronology is out of whack. But, you know, these are long videos, so, yeah. I don't think anyone even recognizes. There's a whole joke chronology to what I'm doing on YouTube. But yeah, now Simp in the Abstract goes after this. And so, you know, the jokes here, a lot of the jokes here only make sense once you've seen how the jokes are initially introduced in Simp in the Abstract. And the evolution is not going to make sense. Yeah, the only evolution I care about these days is the evolution of humor in my neck of the woods. Yeah, when was it blocked? So yeah, March 26th. I only noticed it earlier this morning. Yeah, it was blocked for like 4 days almost, and I just noticed it now. View options. Well, I've been there, right? So I've been there, but yeah, fuck all this crap. We all deserve so much better, but we don't demand better. So maybe we don't deserve better. Maybe I just deserve better. So I'm the only one who seems to be demanding better. It's so stupid. How is the WWE in any way compromised if a video like this stays up? They're not compromised at all. We've automated things we had no business automating. Initially I thought that maybe it's just they're concerned because of the violent nature of the clip. It's like the Dudley Boys powerbombing an old woman. Yeah, don't show it. Powerbombing an old woman through a table, but it's like she was in on it, right? Mae Young was in on it. So it can't be that it was like insensitive content or something. No, it's a Borg. A Borg runs your internet life, whether you know it or not. A Borg runs it. What are you going to do about it? Yeah, right, perfect. Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm done talking. I'm not done talking, but it feels good to say I'm done talking. And if you're, if you got a head on your shoulders, you won't stop talking. You'll keep saying, let's talk about it. Man, 337, and now it's going to be like 347. It's going to be longer than Axis of Wretched. If you got a head on your shoulders, yes, technically you'll keep saying, let's talk about it, but you will also say what I just said, and that is I'm sick and tired of talking about it, and I want to do more. I don't want to get this version of the video banned, though, but I'll just say this much. Yeah, it feels good to say I'm done talking. And, life is about fisting. Life is about fisting. Before I proceed with the video, I should just explain that when composed, I can understand, and certainly one can understand, why you might critique, the attitude, big picture, critique the attitude that any of this warrants shouting. That was kind of the attitude that I displayed, that all of this does warrant shouting, but, like the sage can come in and say, like, none of this warrants shouting, and, even fretting over these wars doesn't warrant shouting, but, if anything warrants shouting, it's the wars and less so my preposterous ventures to upload videos and to have a chronology to the videos and to then ultimately clash with these people that I really hate, and to surmount them and to humiliate them once and for all because of how much I hate them. These people who I wouldn't be aware of had it not been for the internet. I would have known in the abstract there's a bunch of people in the world that I must hate had I, just had to mingle with them in some way, but the internet makes it so, and the news makes it so that you have to have them living rent-free in your head more so than you otherwise would have had it not been for the internet and for just the news cycle and for politics and for power and for man's, thirst for power evermore. So you have the internet, and so you have, online ventures, but they're preposterous ventures. They're ambitious. Like, I should never have ambition. That's the other thing the sage would say. Don't ever have ambition. Try to keep peace if you can. But I'm like, no. I'm an agitator. Fuck the peace. I'm an agitator because there's a lot of people that I just really hate, but I know I'm only exposed to them because of the internet and my sense of responsibility to keep up with the news. But it's like I yell so much. I shouldn't yell. I shouldn't yell over my internet ventures. Yeah, I ultimately, the XYZ on all this is to clash with them and surmount them and leave them feeling so humiliated, it's like they're shamed from public life forever. And then so people who are more compatible with me will fill up these positions of public life, will be public servants of some kind, and then we can become more cooperative across the globe. And if anything, not fret a thermonuclear war. but other problems stay. Yes, sure.
As it says in Gospel of John, for God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, for whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. Eternal life, such beautiful words.
لو راحت كل بيوتنا نحن ما بنقصف على الحجر.
Even if we lose all our homes, we will not mourn the rubble, she says.
فدى المقاومة.
When our kid is born, his first word is Hezbollah.
Oh man,
what do you think he will
that's one to crop
say when he grows
and cycle
up? Vote to
yeah,
speak
let's
to
do
us,
it.
a devout supporter.
يخلق بيقول حزب الله.
When our kid is born, his first word is Hezbollah. Yeah. What do you think he will say when he grows up?
Let's talk about it. Conversation's all we have, so yeah, let's talk about it like mature adults.
No. I told you, man, stop talking that shit, gang. Get your dog.
Yeah, it's the old FAFO, yes. He's a bad man, but yeah. Racism, as long as you're not doing it, like, to the point where you're setting kids to concentration camps and even, you know, non-kids. Yeah, if your racism is just below that, then yeah, you shouldn't have your head kicked in that strong. But let's see it again. And he ran up to him, so it was straight up from the get-go, right? Yeah, he saw it. He saw him coming. But yeah, what is little one's gonna think? Yeah, it's the... It's the cycle of hate, because the little one sees daddy getting beat down by the outgroup member.
No.
Yeah, not the head. Too much.
I told you, man, stop talking that shit, gang. Get your dog.
Yeah, get your dog. Well, what does that even mean, get your dog? You know, he got his ass kicked. What do you mean, get your dog? Yeah, so it's not their fault. Daddy backs the wrong side in the current thing. I don't know what he's saying something. He did something racially bad to the person who was victimized. And, you know, Raider excused the culprit. Because, yeah, it's Raider. Raider posts a lot of good stuff, but Raider is just, he just doesn't get it. You know, it's just gonna, you know, the kids saw it. And I don't even think it's in Minnesota. So, yeah, you know, if you're not encircled like they are in Minnesota, then it's really too much. It's really too much. And what if his kids were also racist? Would you feel good about yourself for doing it to his kids? You know, he seemed about as defenseless against the assailant as the kids would have been. So
No. I told you, man, stop talking that shit, gang. Get your dog.
Yeah, word up.
Pay attention. America. It was built on a dream, an idea that almost all people should be free.
Mask police, fuck you! Fuck you, mask police! Take your fucking mask off! Yep, and look at that, then they get out of Dodge. Fuck y'all, fuck you! Yep, then just meet the carnage. Fucking assholes.
Ice holes. They're ice holes.
There's video of the aftermath of a car wreck. I'm not sure how the accident happened, but it looked like the car hit a pole.
ICE agents pile on top of this woman alongside the car wreck as she screams that she'll show them her ID and that she's an American citizen.
I hope you recognize that you're only formally, involved. Your mind's too good for the typical, at war. Yeah, you're formally involved, but I hope you don't think yourself in some spiritual way involved by being an American yourself. You're too good to be an American, man.
But they brutally restrain her,
Dark
throw her
matter.
into the back of one
Dark
of the unmarked
matter.
vehicles, and just
Yeah,
leave.
he kind of talks in the common talk, like he's of it. But I hope he knows that it's all just a formality.
No ambulance is called, no medical attention is given on the scene of a serious accident, no police are involved to do an accident report, or to tow the vehicle, or to direct traffic. None of that. They just leave the wrecked vehicle there, abandoned, a danger for the other commuters.
They're just monumental ice holes.
They did the same thing to another motorist, just pulled him out of his car, and the car coasted.
Just say driver. You're like David Frum. David Frum keeps saying motorist. It's just driver.
Across the road toward people.
Oh, we're pundits, so we're going to say motorist. Yeah, it's a driver.
Sidewalk because the car was in drive. An agent chases it down, puts it in park, and then just leaves.
Or whatever, we're trying to LARP like Legal Eagle or something, where you have to say motorist instead of driver.
In the middle of the road, and they all get in their
everything going on down there is horrible. Sorry. I should
and take off.
Turn off the funny bone. Yeah, just more awful. These ice holes, 24/7 icing.
What the hell are you guys doing?
Ice in there.
Get out of our city!
Yeah, that's not gonna do
You're
it.
not making our city safer!
Yeah,
Shame on all of you!
they're not susceptible to your reasons and factual claims.
I got it.
They're susceptible to white supremacy chants. Apparently, he covered that a few minutes prior in At War with Ourselves. Just a few minutes before, he caught ICE singing these. Yeah, he caught them. He caught them singing. Yeah, it's a power play. Yeah, where's the singing? Yeah, here's the singing. They're such assholes. Sorry, ice holes.
Department of Labor tweeting things that are nearly identical in content and exactly identical in format to a Nazi slogan. But the difference is that one says heritage and one says leader, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Why is the Department of...
Yeah, both. It's stupid beyond the historical problems. It's just a bunch of de-individuation. Because they suck individually. They can only stop sucking when they unite and have a heritage to boast about. Even though if they had to get along with most of those people, there'd be so much, just divergence based on the periods being so far apart. They don't even know whether they'd like all the people they insist to, when they're together, they insist, we love all those people. We know nothing about really how they were in person, our forefathers, but we love them.
Land Security posting military propaganda videos using the Fraktur font, the same font used on the cover of my...
Yeah, so there's historical issues with it, but also it's just really irrational, and it's just such a reach to de-individuate, and you just got to know they're extremely dull internally. They have a shitty interiority. That's kind of one of my ways to, fascists are people who have a shitty interiority and just a blank. So they need a heritage, and they need to really obsess over a heritage. And then maybe they stop feeling all angsty and stuff.
Including much of the early Nazi propaganda.
Yeah, fascists are brutes and sizists. That's going to be like a lyric.
And then later by the neo-Nazis. But technically, the Nazis banned that font in 1941, despite their constant usage of it beforehand. So let's give them...
Yeah, which is really weird that they...
that font in 1941, despite their constant usage of it beforehand. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
So many of them are sizes, but they keep forgetting their main guy was a little fella.
Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who shot and killed Renee Good, has a donation page. For no reason, because he's not facing any legal charges and is being detected in a routine investigation.
He's probably a multi-millionaire by now.
On his donation
Hang on, well, there was another thing here. I had a thing about a
scene of a serious accident. No police are involved to do an accident report or to tow the commuters that can sidewalk. They're unmarked.
No, we saw it.
Or harm. Absolute immunity.
Kidnap the driver that
hang on.
and watch the Ford.
Even when there's no emergency at all, because they were told that they have absolute immunity.
Today, as I was responding to an ICE setting, I watched a Ford Explorer filled with ICE agents blow through a stop sign, T-bone someone on accident, and then kidnap the driver that they T-boned. That was their way of cleaning.
It's a segment about a nose ring. I just want to say something about nose rings and other quirky spots where you want to get your rings.
That was their way of
It's a segment about a nose ring. I just want to say something about nose rings and other quirky spots where you want to get your rings. We'll wait. I gotta cut my time, so we'll wait on this, and you can take your guesses. But it may just be something that I've kind of given enough clues in the past. But yeah, we'll wait for a gender video for me to expand on this. But we'll do a clue.
You're not inclusive.
Yeah, that's the clue. But yeah, next time for a gender video, because one gender's more guilty than the other per my observations.
He said, I'm not scared of a germ. You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me.
Now we're in a recession because of Trump's tariffs, and that causes real pain. That would cause I don't wish it on anybody, but those are real consequences that people can feel that I think would move us out of this. Versus no American is going to recognize the loss.
It's Sarah Longwell
of USAID.
Hang on.
Of this. Versus
Sarah Longwell.
No American is going to recognize the loss of USAID for 25 years when America is a completely declined superpower, and China is the one that everybody looks to for leadership because we took away all of our soft power levers. Like, Americans won't notice that. That is not the thing that will make them think Trump is a failure.
Yeah, it should make you have a two-tiered view of democracy. These same people that you have to sway, usually by having co-hosts who wear baseball caps and stuff with these little cues. And why don't you ever wear the baseball cap, by the way, Sarah? Why don't you ever wear the baseball cap? Does, like, Bill Crystal let you get away with not wearing it? Like, why do the guys have to wear the baseball caps? I guess baseball's a guy thing.
They can
hang on. What did she say?
Superpower, and China is the one that everybody looks to for leadership because we took away all of our soft power levers. Like, Americans won't notice.
Yeah, Americans won't notice that, and so you should have a two-tiered view. Kind of, you should be like a two-spirit on democracy. On the one hand, you grudgingly accept it's better and therefore, I guess, kind of necessary. It's better than all the dictatorial crap and all the whatever idyllic, crap where every neighborhood self-organizes, and so there's no corruption because it's all local. All that other crap, it's just too idyllic or too perverse. So you got to stick with democracy. But you should still be a two-spirit, a two-tiered view, because there's also a democratic culture. And it tricks you into thinking you got to view people like that as your co-equals in some sense. I guess in a civic sense. Listen.
After the 5 years when America is a completely declined superpower.
Yeah, through self-sabotage.
And China is the one that everybody looks to for leadership because we took away all of our soft power levers. Like,
and what is China anyway? Does anyone actually believe China is meaningfully communist? It's inching towards something where, everyone's going to end up equal in, monetarily equal, but there's no money anyway, but you know what I mean, China just might emerge the global leader, and it's like, yeah, I don't care, but, what even is China realistically? I know what it calls itself, but what the fuck is that country in a coherent ideological sense? It doesn't have one, but it's so fucking its leadership is so ideological. I guess at the end of the day, China's just another chauvinistic, nationalistic country. Yeah. So it sucks, what's going to replace America? It's just another bog standard, chauvinistically nationalistic country, but cloaked in communist garb. I guess it's better that it's pseudo-communist than actually so.
Won't notice that.
Yeah, but hang on. My point is that, don't let democratic culture trick you. Be a proponent of democracy, but don't let democratic culture trick you into thinking like you have co-equals who, as Sarah Longwell points out here, who can grasp the following.
When America is a completely declined superpower, and China is the one that everybody looks to for leadership because we took away all of our soft power levers. Like, Americans won't notice that.
Yeah.
That is not the thing that will make them think Trump is a failure.
Yeah, so they suck, but you need to court their approval. It just scrambles too many intellectuals' brains, and especially public intellectuals' brains. Go around congratulating people for winning popularity contests. That's what an election is. I'm sorry.
Choose to not notice it. It's happening. It gets reported all the time.
Yeah.
But they can't feel
It's all there.
They can't
They
feel
can see it.
They can't feel it.
You want to?
She said
It's
it.
happening. It gets reported all the time. Like this
But they can't
it's all there.
No.
They could see it if they wanted to. Sure. They choose not to. We're going to talk a little bit about, we had some real life consequences that happened right before we started taping. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics finally did some work, put out some numbers today. And unemployment is up to 4.5%. That seems bad. Let me go to the financial analysts, see what they say.
But why should, 95.5% of those who are, I guess, eligible to work? Why should it be that many? Keynes would have been, spinning in his grave if he found out that, in 2025, tail end of 2025, we have fucking, there's 95.5% of people who should be working who are eligible to work, who are work approved. And there's so much, you got to do when you show up on some nights especially. And, not even me, but others.
You're the analyst, Charles Schwab.
I could just see it. Like if I really chose to earn a lot, 6-figure and above, if I could even, but if I chose to and then could, these rants, there'd be nothing left of me. These rants would be so bad, but instead they're so awesome because I preserve enough of my brain power. And I do it for you people. You all as ingrates regardless. I preserve so much of my brain power so, I can do political and other commentary and sometimes even philosophy.
Unemployment rate.
I don't earn as much because of that, probably.
Up by 1.2 percentage points.
And see, we're still Keynes would be spinning in his grave when this many people have to work. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to commend Trump for his poor, economy because now less people are working or something.
From its trough 30 months ago, we have never seen that kind of increase without the economy already being in recession. So far, in the back half of 2025, the economy has created 113,000 jobs. In the full history of payroll data, that is so far the weakest semi-annual gain we've seen, excluding the rebound periods after recessions. Percentage of Americans holding multiple jobs is now at a 25-year high.
Oh, you're doing multiple other people's bidding.
And manufacturing jobs for the forgotten men and women of this country are crashing. Oh. So if you were hoping to live in a world where Americans could work in the same factories that their grandfathers...
Go listen to Bad Religion's Forgotten Man. I used it in a video previously. Such a good song. So, what does it go? I forget how it goes.
Working, screwing tiny little screws into iPhones. That's not happening either, fuckers.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about this.
Yet. Okay.
Godspeed, Trump. Oh, it's getting rowdier. Look at that. There's multiple types of enemies and enemy groups. But sure, know your enemy. But man, look at that. Come on. Who would have thought that Americans would have been pushed to the brink to this extent that this much force comes out to smash the protests? This much? This is a lot of force. Look at that. It's oh wait, no, it's not. It's Italy, that's why. It's not. No, Americans would never have caused. Well, maybe, I don't know. Never say never, right? Maybe enough Americans will come out to the point where there's going to be this much fireworks and this much, Polizia, yeah. Work for the rich, yeah.
Have you had a chance to review any of the unredacted files over at the DOJ, the Epstein files?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I just came from there.
What can you tell us?
There's a bunch of sick fucks.
Okay, keep talking. I'm looking.
So here's the thing. This should be the biggest story in the country. And it's all over Twitter. So if you're sitting on Twitter, it is just us unearthing the files, talking about the files, and it is not. We're going to need...
Well, what did she say?
The biggest story in the country. And it's all over Twitter. So if you're sitting on Twitter...
I've seen, just in the last, 72 hours... It's February 2nd, 2026. And just in the last 72 hours or so, I've seen dozens of people refer to dozens of different things with the introduction of the thing saying that this should be the biggest story right now. All kinds of different things. Literally dozens of different things. So let's see what Sarah's is. Sarah Longwell of Bulwark fame.
The biggest story in the country. And it's all over Twitter. So like if you're sitting on Twitter, it is just us unearthing the files, talking about the files, and like, but it is not. Like, we are going to need everybody else in the journalistic world to like start reporting these things out. Getting Musk on the record. Now he's tweeting about it, and I presume people from the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times are calling him up to say like, hey, so you said this, and this is in the email. But like, they have to feel the pressure of the public scrutiny that comes with things like this. And so that's the next step. The next step is but make them answer for this. Don't just shrug about it.
Ketamine's a hell of a drug. So what's the big news?
Like, hey, so you said this, and this is in the email.
Yeah,
but they have to feel the pressure of the public scrutiny that comes with things like this.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the biggest story still. As much as I hate Elon even, I wouldn't say that's the biggest. No, the biggest story is the ice holes still. Because they haven't left, Minnesota. Minnesota is going to teach people how to do decentralized freedom, or at least the decentralized fighting against the anti-freedom folk. Yeah, Minnesota's a shining example for the rest of the country. But, there's been another dump, so it's like Epstein stuff's going to crowd out Minnesota stuff.
And so that's the next step. The next step is, like, make them answer for this. Don't just shrug about it.
So the Times has one piece up.
So you're wrong, Sarah. It's not the biggest story. No, it's... You know what Minnesota's doing? They're doing precisely what Wilhelm says the masses have to do. They have to take responsibility even when the state's not there to help out. Isn't that the best kind of, way to sum up Minnesota? It's like they read Wilhelm. They didn't read Wilhelm. They just had a bunch of masked ice chuds terrorize them. And they came together. It's a decentralized resistance. Leaderless, decentralized resistance is just how Wilhelm would have wanted it.
Website, but it is up there. It's from Nick Confessori.
But yeah, there's a lot of depraved, fucked up, rich, wealthy, powerful folk in America, and they're all very connected to Epstein, as we're learning.
The hypocrisy, but also the lying.
Like way after that 2008 conviction, whatever he did to that one time they caught him. Yeah, they caught Epstein like one time in the 2000s, and he served some time, but it was kind of a slap on the wrist compared to what he should have had. But man, so many rich, influential folk, all the stuff they could have done with all that money, all the fun they could have had, clean fun. Or not clean, but, you can pretty much get access to any drug. You can probably hire awesome bands and just have them perform live for you. You can just do anything when you're that rich. And they chose to befriend Epstein.
How they weren't, people claiming they weren't close to Epstein, documents show otherwise, and it goes after Musk and Lutnick on top. But yeah, that's about it.
Ketamine's a hell of a drug, and apparently, young pussy's a hell of a drug too. It's sorry.
I agree.
It's horrible, but it's a hell of a drug for those fucks. Evidently, how did Louis C.K. put it when he did that pedo skit on that SNL famous thing? He's like, imagine. They must know, the pedos, they must know they're risking all kinds of trouble, and they still do it. So imagine how good it must be. It's Louis C.K. I didn't say it. Louis C.K. said it. I'm just paraphrasing Louis C.K., but then he got in trouble too for other things.
Huge on Twitter. Yeah, everyone. That might be algorithmic. Okay.
Louis C.K., another bad man.
Two stories that are semi-related.
You don't wank in front of dames,
Trump and the
even if they're your colleagues on the comedy circuit. You don't drop your pants and jackets. You don't do the Blink-182 the title in real life. No, Louis, that was stupid what Louis did, but it's like a little drop in the bucket of what some other folks have done. And so when you make that much of a fuss out of what Louis did, and what Louis did was bad, but when you make that much of a fuss out of it, then you're not, you can't cogently react harshly enough when you find out what other people, very powerful other people, far more rich and powerful than Louis C.K. even, You know, when you find out exactly what they did or what they just, rhetorically engaged in, knowing that their friend Epstein and his friends did. But yeah, when you like start out being as harsh as possible against Louis C.K., then it's like, where do you go from there? You can't. You've reached the ceiling almost. So then when the other people who like break through the ceiling, you can't, because you broke through the ceiling with like a tepid guy like Louis C.K., who said that, watch that skit. It was like an SNL, like from 2015 skit when he does the pedo thing, and he said like the pedos from the 70s were like, they approached the little kid and like, would you like some McDonald's? It was a really good skit. He delivers it better than I can. He like impersonated some French guy. It was like, would you like some McDonald's? It was great.
And I know we have some video clip to play for this one, but basic gist is Trump this week decided he was going to sue the IRS for, I kid you not, $10 billion.
Yeah, who is he not suing? That's the news, right? It's who is Trump not suing in America? I think he just settled with himself, right? That's just what happened like the other day. Trump has to settle with himself and to see how much to give himself.
It's like a comically large
money,
number.
guys. That's our money.
Yeah.
It's a comically large figure. You couldn't be more villainous.
It might just be Canada's money too before we know it.
It's like, you might as well just, do the documentary.
No, man, Canada's standing strong. Canada, like 72% of Canadians say there is some chance. May come down to a shooting war. But, the headline's not that good. There's some probability. You got to be more precise on what do you mean by some probability. But still, 72% is an insane number.
You're saying it. It's for the release of his tax records, the leak of the tax records, I should say.
I got bored of this story like back in 2016, Trump and taxes. Yeah, fuck it.
He's a bunch of sick fucks.
I didn't mean like really fuck the baby.
He's a bunch of sick fucks.
But we have him on the run now.
Thousands of them have been held longer than the court-ordered 20-day limit. Recently, ProPublica obtained handwritten letters and drawings from children detained by ICE. These are letters from children describing what it feels like and what it does to them when the government locks them up. This is Ariana. She's 14 years old, detained for 4...
I wouldn't lock anyone up who endorses it, but what I would do is I would turn back time to when they were kids, and I would make them as kids believe that they're about to be locked up. And I'd make them think that's going to happen to them for like, I don't know how long, for maybe a full day. I'd make them do like a 24-hour countdown. It's like, you're going to be locked up, just like you endorsed the actual kids being actually locked up. Just saying, if I could turn back time, you got to read some of these to see that my view is justified. I would do that to them. If I could turn them back into kids and still have them have a memory of having endorsed kids being locked up, and then I would make them think that I'm going to lock them up in a similarly poorly run facility, sadistic facility, detention centers, concentration camps. They're dying in there. There have been a lot of deaths, you know, unsanitary conditions, but it's not even about that. It's just a bunch of sadists who are running the place. So yeah, that's what I would think. And then I wouldn't actually lock them up, but I would make them think. You know, I would make them revert back to their childhood brain if I could. And then I would make that kind of brain think that they're going to endure the same fate as these poor kids. And then I just bring them back to adulthood age. Like, no, I'm not going to do that to you. But I wanted you to feel what it's like without necessarily experiencing what it's like. I want you to feel like it's about to happen to you too. And then do the psych. Yeah, it's about as good a punishment as any. But listen to this. This is awful.
Since I got to this center, all I feel is sadness and mostly depression.
To what end?
This is Mia, 7 years old.
Yeah, such a dangerous kid.
I don't want to be in this place. I want to go to my school.
No, you shouldn't want that either, Mia, but okay. That beats this place.
This is Scarlett, 17 years old. I feel very bored and overwhelmed because I am locked up.
I won't even criticize her for announcing that she's bored. That's something I do, but I won't even do it here. You know, when you announce you're bored, you're pretty much announcing you've got no imagination. But I think even I might be, you know, in those conditions. Yeah.
This is Gabby, 14 years old. I feel so much sadness and depression of not being able to leave. This is Maria, 9 years old. Me and Dilly am not happy. Please get me out of here.
But, you know, at the same time, there's like, I forgot how many thousands now, but Iran killed, just exterminated. Many, oh man, I shouldn't, hang on. There we go. Many of their peoples, you know, thousands upon thousands of peoples. So this is bad, but there's worse things.
This is a 12-year-old.
But this is closer.
Going to the doctor, and the only thing they tell me is drink more water. The water here is what makes people sick. And this one got me, Mr. Lyons, because this is a 5-year-old. Luis Annie. My son's 5. He can't write many words, but he can communicate through drawings like this. This is a picture of Luis Annie's family. And you might be able to see that none of the faces are smiling.
Yeah.
Child detention is not required by law. You know that. It's not the only option available. And it's not effective. We know that community-based alternatives can ensure compliance with proceedings without traumatizing these children. Yet, you continue
louder.
to detain and hold children for weeks or months, depriving them of school, stability, leaving them afraid, sick, and confused. And one of the key reasons for your mass detention, including the detention of Liam and his father, is to pressure people to give up their legal opportunities and pathways to remaining in the United States. Liam's father was following the rules, following the legal process with a valid claim. Let me be clear.
It's just ethnic cleansing.
No child, not Liam Ramos,
but all those
Gabby,
people, all those parents to this day, like all those parents were asleep at the wheel for, you know, just sitting comfy in America. They had many months after he wanted to see that, you know, what he ran on, and instead they just stayed oblivious. Well, that's what you get for staying oblivious.
Any of these children.
But it sucks for the kids.
Oh, God, it's cold out here. It's 0 degrees, which is still 10 degrees warmer than it is in Minneapolis right now, but
It has been a big week for some very bad people. Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted co-conspirator to child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, has been in federal prison for the past 4 years, which you probably know, only occasionally popping up to try and leverage her criminal knowledge to her own advantage. We'll have more on that in a second. On Monday, Maxwell appeared before the House Oversight Committee, which is looking into the federal government's own investigation of Epstein, who in 2019 died in prison, quote unquote. And yeah, I'm going to say it like that until someone convinces me otherwise. Ms. Maxwell revealed exactly nothing to the committee. She pleaded the fifth to every single question that was asked. Instead, her lawyer said Maxwell, quote, would answer questions if she were granted clemency by President Trump. That
Just
is, in
might
exchange
happen.
for swearing to Trump's innocence, Maxwell wants out of prison.
He's
This is not how the
desperate
justice
enough.
system
If
works,
he's desperate
unless you're talking
enough.
about the Trump justice system. Remember that when the committee began seeking Maxwell's deposition a few months
Clown
ago,
justice.
Todd Blanche, the deputy
That's
attorney
all you
general
get.
and
You get
Trump's
clown
former personal lawyer,
justice.
interviewed Maxwell in her maximum security prison, where she told Blanche that Trump had been an absolute gentleman
Where
during the Epstein
justice
Trump
is
really must have
synonymous
appreciated that,
with
because soon after,
Joker.
Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a minimum security prison, where inmates can
Why am I
print
showing the
copies
comments
and do
though?
arts
Why am I
works.
showing the
And while
comments?
Trump might have preferred
I
that
suspect
Maxwell's
it's.
jailhouse character
I
reference
suspect
be the
it's
end of the
AI.
Epstein
No,
saga,
it's not
it was
AI.
not.
It's.
It is not.
It's
Last
not.
Friday, the Department of Justice, responding to a congressional order, though a month late, released an avalanche of Epstein records. Over 3 million
Two others.
videos and photos
So
from
stupid.
Epstein's
Two others.
Reporters are
What?
just beginning to sift through this
Oh,
mountain of
I
information, but what's
see.
clear is that the Epstein scandal did not just encompass a handful
But
of
you
rich
need.
men.
You need to
rejoicing
have
in children.
collaborators.
Jeffrey Epstein's web
But
of influence and
that's
connections was
not.
vast,
This is.
touching nearly every corner of government, finance, politics,
That's
and academia.
the relevant
Not all of these
part.
people were involved in Epstein's
but,
sex ring,
you
but these new files reveal a corrupt sphere of influence
Oh,
with Jeffrey
man.
Epstein
It's
at the
the
very
fourth.
center.
Yeah.
President
it's-
Donald Trump appears in the Epstein files an eye-popping 38,000 times, but you will all
It's sphere number 4. It's Russia, China, U.S., and Epstein Island sphere.
Also see
Spheres of
mentions
influence. It's like all the rich folk aren't even in the States. They're on Epstein Island states.
Bannon and Elon Musk and Trump's Commerce Secretary,
but it's
Howard
not.
Lutnick. That would be the same Howard Lutnick who swore he had nothing to do with Epstein after the year 2005, until these files, the new
You read
ones, confirmed that
read on, Alex Wagner. You read those polemics.
had started
It's-
business ventures with him literally years after Epstein had been convicted of soliciting prostitution from a child. The web of connections between some of the most powerful people in our society and one of the most depraved is perhaps the most stunning revelation in this new batch of files.
I also think Sam partnered up with the Bulwark. Yeah, they're all partnering up because it's like the end times. Yeah, it's the end times. We gotta.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna and
We
Republican
gotta
Congressman
exchange talking points on ever more different platforms. But I get it. The revelations are just huge.
Thomas Massey,
It's so
who had led the
huge,
charge
but
on
it's
releasing
like-
these files, were granted access this week to unredacted copies of the
It
material.
matters.
And what they found was even more suspicious. Here's Khanna on the House floor.
It's a
on
lot of
Tuesday.
people, man.
Wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey
Come
and me
on.
going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
This is a class.
Other ones, as in not the United
It's
States.
a class war. It's a class war.
Seen as empowering
True
him.
class.
Over in the UK, Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing calls to resign for appointing Peter Mandelson his ambassador to the United States last year, despite Mandelson's close ties to Epstein. A Norwegian ambassador resigned over her contacts with Epstein, and an advisor to Slovakia's prime minister has also resigned. But over here in the Wild West, where Epstein's web ran particularly wide and extraordinarily deep, will enough Americans care for the Epstein files to finally become a political noose? I'm Alex Wagner, and this week on Runaway Country, how did New York society allow a predator to operate essentially in broad daylight? How interconnected is the Epstein network, and how far will the people in it go to make sure the truth never comes out?
Based in Tom, shut up, Alex Wagner. Based in Tom Y4W pilled. Let's see. Some of her simps are going to show up. And does it look to you like Alex is continuing to follow the constraints of her former corporate bosses? Yeah, but she didn't quit on them. They fired her, and then she became bolder. Yeah, they fired her, and she became bolder. It doesn't look to me like Alex is doing that, but it definitely looks like Katie Couric is. Okay, so this is what a person who follows all the dinosaur media figures looks like. Oh, it's someone who knits. Yeah, stuff just checks out so quickly these days. Yeah, it's someone who knits. Yeah, it's someone very pink. Yeah, pink on knit twist. Yeah, nitwit. This. Better late than never, sure. Yeah, just say that much. Yeah, better late than never. But They'll never learn the lessons until they absorb obscurity for decades on end. They'll never truly learn the lessons. You gotta absorb obscurity and not having much of a reach. Oh, God, what am I on Blue Sky? It is different. It is different. Yes, you know. Left media will host people as crazy as Richard Wolff, who like said the collapse is here. Like something like 15 times in the last calendar year. It's like, it's here, the collapse is here, the US is over. And no one makes him account for it because it's like a left media and he's a Marxist, apologist, crazy guy. And so the left media don't hold him to account. Yeah, so it's different than Fox. Fox just has to settle for like ungodly amounts of money because fraudster can't accept losing, having lost an election. To this day, he can't. Yeah. Shocking new Epstein revelations. It's all about the Trump stump. Yeah, could end Trump. Yeah, sure. You know, the other side has more guns. That's all it comes down to, you fucking morons. The other side has more guns. It's not about the events and the unfoldings. Yeah. Go read comments yourselves, but oh yeah, I just silenced.
Well, I mean, for a lot of people who don't understand how that can
because
happen, right? Like how you can have a salon where Tommy Mottola and Deepak Chopra and
there's
Woody Allen
figures. Deepak. So what happens when you deep throat spirituality and woo too much. You just end up too perverse to know better.
and Soon Yi and Harvey Weinstein, setting aside the fact that they had, predation in common, but that this mix of the elites would happen in these like Upper East Side.
Elites often practice spirituality, that should make you not that perverse. You should know better. If you practice spirituality and brag about it all the time, you should know better, but the elites are too perverse to know better.
Salons. Can you give us a sense of what the scene was like in the late 90s and the early 2000s in New York? I mean, that sort of kinetic mix of those kinds of people and sort of where Trump fit into all of that.
So where Trump is this question
so
I'm
take
so curious
your
about
clothes off.
I mean, he was like,
and that means God. Oh, you best be ripped, or we're gonna body shame you, but we're gonna sing. Yeah, it's getting hot in here, so take your clothes off. And it's Nelly and. What are you hiding under that bandage, Nelly? Yeah, it's early she asked about it. It's the early 2000s.
I don't think he was much. I don't think Epstein would want to mix him with, the Woodies and the Noam Chomskys.
Because he wasn't smart enough.
It really is the stupidest of the future timelines.
Yeah, and also
Chomsky's right in the middle of it. Chomsky's right in the middle of it.
He was much. I don't think Epstein would want to mix him with, the Woodies and the Noam Chomskys of the world.
Because he wasn't smart enough.
Well, yeah, and all he was, as has been one of his besetting resentments all these years, is he's this bridge and tunnel guy. As, of course, Jeffrey Epstein was, too. Right. He grew up in Queens, right? And, they don't accept me in Manhattan. Well, I'll make them.
Where's Trump?
Never quite did.
Where's Trump?
Until he became president and could try to destroy their businesses if they didn't like
It's only a matter of time before Trump...
Or it's a function of, it wouldn't have happened, say, in the 70s, let's say. This thing that people start talking about...
what a long ad
ad
break, man. It's Alex Wagner having to compensate for not having corporate bosses anymore. Ad break. It's longer than any of the segments.
And 80s became less old school Wall Street investment bank and more
colluding. They're all colluding, and what of those of us who are too proud to collude? Or who just don't get invited to the party. What of us? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to us? Yeah, we're gonna have to compromise and collude. I don't want to collude.
Milestone sign to look at.
Pam Bondi, man. Pam Bondi just lost it. Quite a sight. Oh, another super long ad break. It's like Alex is all about Alex despite everything. Look at that long ad break. Yeah, Alex is all about Alex despite everything. But then aren't we all? But yeah, there's victims in the world because Epstein is all about Epstein. So there's victims in the world, and you know, he gets help from even Russia. Apparently, yeah, even it was Russia too as well here. It was Russia. The Russian reach is just getting perverse. You know, even Russia funded Epstein, or is compromised. It was compromised. Yeah. I think we got to deal with this gas station once and for all.
So I really have just one question for you.
Maybe.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted?
Come on, give it. Oh, if only women ruled the world. If only women ruled the world. We'll do her normal.
Investigating.
Yeah, she can be normal. Do her normal. If only women had more power.
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No, you're going to answer the question the way I asked it.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to President Trump? All of you.
Bow and atone for nothing. Bow and atone for nothing. It was a track.
Donald Trump. You all should be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. None of them.
Tim's making faces.
Merrick Garland, over the last 4 years, one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why?
Why? Because she's better without Tim. She's better without the Tim.
Trump, the Dow right now is
Lord.
over.
It's on fire. The Dow.
$50,000. The Dow's over. That's the Attorney General of the United States of America.
It's heard about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why?
Why?
Because Donald Trump. The Dow right now is over.
It's on fire, man.
50,000.
One single cause is Israel, as per Al Jazeera English. If Al Jazeera says so, who am I to doubt it? I'm surprised you guys just didn't start spelling it with a Z yet, or a Z yet, you know, the way you guys spell yours. Yeah, just spell Israel with a Z. We all know you want to. But yeah, Al Jazeera is saying, like, Epstein's just, you know, the pawn of Israel, as all evil things. And so it's like, yeah, seems like there's something to it, but, you know, we'll get to that. Trump makes political threats. Hang on. It's our local news felt it necessary to report as well of political consequences towards Republicans that voted against tariffs. That's just a normal day in America. You know, who am I to even look askance? Oh, so this is the one. This is the one that really caught my eye. Coleman. I haven't seen Coleman around in the algorithm, but Coleman's doing well, it appears. But look at that. Now that's a provocative. The Epstein hysteria is a moral panic. I'm not going to take the plunge here, but yeah, it's, you know, I wonder what I'm going to learn. You know, if you're unbiased by temperament, Coleman's the kind of guy you just might learn from. If you're unbiased by temperament and, you know, receptivity, if you have a, you know, certain leeway to you where you have a certain kind of ideological, factual receptivity. And it looks like you got some neckbeard kind of guy to back him up too, so yeah. Yeah, that's another bulwark one. It's like, yeah, you know, bulwark's always right, so what else you got? But yeah, man, Coleman is like, you know, it's going to be like the rich people who said that, they kept in contact with Epstein after he was a convict and after he had that slap on the wrist and they let him go. Who are you to say that they shouldn't have kept in contact with him? Who are you to tell anyone who they ought to befriend? You moral panickers. Yeah. Coleman, I think sometimes, decent people can expect that other decent people will just defriend or disassociate themselves from any of this crap. No matter how many layers of it. But maybe this is about something else.
Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coleman. The billionaire philanthropist Jeffrey Epstein ran a global pedophile ring, supplied children to presidents, prime ministers, and princes, secretly filmed these powerful
Coleman,
and blackmailed them on behalf of intelligence agencies. That is the narrative that you've been sold, and almost every part of it is false. That may be a shocking claim.
I didn't know. I didn't know Coleman too was a pawn.
It's true. Once you sift out the fabrications and the rumors and focus only on the documented facts, including everything that's
I got a hilarious in a few videos coming up, just a spur of the moment explosion against Barry and company.
Recently, the Epstein story morphs from a Hollywood tale of sex trafficking to a mundane tale of one man's private sleaziness. That is the argument of my guest today, and trust me, he has the receipts. Michael Tracy is a journalist who's written for outlets like The Nation and Vice.
You're swimming with bullshit artists, Coleman. I'm sorry to say, you've fallen into the gang that just has inability to see clearly. That's what you've fallen into, Michael Trace. I don't know, it's just some twatter guy, but
turned out to be right on the money about that. And I think a similar vindication is awaiting him on the Epstein myth.
No, any of these associates of Epstein post 08, no, I'm saying the MSM is getting that right. They're not getting something else right, but we'll get to that. Or not, it's not even something that's out in the open. There's certain subtext to all this. There's certain subtext, and there's a lot of people who are playing pretend, 21. If she's 21 and a day younger, she's day younger than 21. There's nothing compelling about her. She only starts to become compelling physically at 21 and above. Yeah, so go after that.
How do you deal with a world in which the biggest liars hold the most power?
This is a Fox News Live special report.
And it looks like he's mostly just a fixer, a guy who advises. He helps people with their problems. Sometimes those
They're talking about Jeffrey.
problems are you need a girl. And
Jeffrey as mere fixer. Jeffrey as mere fixer.
Who advises. He helps people with their problems. Sometimes
I think I know what's going on here. Fox got the same marching orders as Coleman.
sometimes those problems are you need a girl and
Or some penicillin.
or some. If you need it, he's got it.
That's a scarecrow.
He's a sex rabbi.
But no, man, like Coleman, what are you doing with your life, Coleman? What are you doing with your life? Oh, another scarecrow, but done up a bit more. But hang on, yeah.
He helps people with their problems.
Mere
He's
fixer.
mostly just a fixer.
Yeah.
A guy who advises. He helps people with their problems.
Yeah, at least Coleman said perv and creep and stuff, but Fox went a bit.
Helps people with their problems.
Mere fixer. Yeah, that's what I titled it. That's what I titled it. Yeah, at least Coleman. Is he a mere fixer or is he something more? Man, seems Coleman's like ready to sign off on the Fox narrative. Jeffrey as mere fixer, at least the Fox narrative based on this sample. It's not like I watch Fox enough to know what Fox does in general. I think this is more Fox exposure than I've had in the last, I don't know how many years. Said perv and creep and stuff, but right, that was Coleman. Fixer. Yeah, but
a guy who advises. He helps people with.
Yeah, Coleman understands he's more than a fixer. But then Coleman says he's just a perv and creep. But he's more than that too, isn't he, Coleman? But Coleman's about to be brainwashed. We'll revisit it.
Yeah, at least Coleman said perv and creep and stuff, but, you know.
But then I say it wrong. Listen.
Fox went a bit further.
No, Fox didn't go further. Fox didn't go as far as Coleman did, but I said Fox went further, so I have to do it right.
That.
And I realized I said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to save it too. Why? I try to save it by going back to the Fox News well.
Fox News.
Yeah. But it doesn't work.
Play pretend, you know. 21. If she's 21 and a day younger, she's day younger than 21, there's nothing compelling about her. She only starts to become compelling physically at 21 and above. Yeah, so go after that.
Yeah, but sometimes you direct so much that you're not ready to speak the stuff you're supposed to speak when it's time to speak. So the reason it's a very difficult, uncomfortable argument to make, it is a very uncomfortable argument. I'll say more about it much later in this video. Not much later, just much later in this video. But, you know, no, it's nothing to do with the current scandal and stuff like that and the fact that there's people out for blood. I don't give a shit about that. No. It's because by pointing out that she's compelling when she's an adult, like, you simp in the abstract. And I don't even want to do that. Like, don't you? Isn't it true? It's like I just simped in the abstract by having to make the point I just made. And so it's just kind of worth to know that it's a very difficult argument to make because I don't even want to simp in the abstract. She grabbed my tit. She admits it.
Did you like that? Did you like it? Yeah. Ask her. Go ahead.
She admits it. She admits it.
Pretty sure you were crying in there. Yeah, I remember you shivering and crying.
Another bad man.
Yeah.
I have a quick blue sky thing. I want to do it where the skies are gray. The skies are very gray. But I have a quick blue sky thing. I haven't left. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm used to it in this strange way, but it's so bad still. Seems like it's even worse since the last audio video thing, whenever that was, when I bitched about having to leave. But it gets you thinking, what if every time the medieval peasants say the left, they're sublimating? And it's not some political, ideological category. It's not some, even culture war, general level thing. No, it's just like a lot of these guys are married. The guys from Red America who are stupid enough to still support all this, I guess, something like 35% of the country. So the men, let's just speak of them here. There's more of them who still support all this. And so what if they're just sublimating when they convince themselves that it's the left? And whatever bogey term is now trendy, I don't even know. I don't go on X. I don't go on Twitter. Everything I see secondhand from it is so stupid. So no. But what if they're just sublimating because the people they actually want to make stew are the very same people I want to see stew. And it's these broads on blue sky. It's these broads. Like, yeah, there's the occasional tedious male progressive, but, in every single case, he's hustling black grievance race theory. Just out and out, it's minimal progress since the 50s style, black grievance, race theory, critical theory. And that's what makes the men, the few of them who are really as obnoxious as the women, that's what makes them obnoxious. Whereas with women, it's just a whole slew of things. They're unbelievably dogmatic and thin-skinned and incapable of meeting challenges, intellectual, ideological challenges. They're incapable of it. But each and every single one of them, I think in a
in a nanosecond gets more traffic, maybe like 10 of them in 10 nanoseconds get more traffic than this channel is bound to get from now until the rest of its time, which may not be that long, because there may be a whole global kablamo, because we's that stupid. But see where it stems from? It stems from gender. I'm going to turn it around on them. This is the kind of stuff they post. It's about, oh, when the futurists come and see the globe in its whatever worsened, degraded state, they will go, it was the gender. And that's them, as the broads, saying like, men wrecked all this. But like, no. I'm not saying I know it for a fact. I'm not saying I know it's true. I just know that there's something that's motivated me to audio about it. And that's the possibility when so many of them, especially the ones who can't think aloud on this, like the married, proud husbands and fathers, they can't just say, I want to specifically make these women, these unbearable, tedious, progressive women, lose their heads and squirm in fear that they're going to be the next ones to get iced. You know? Because of just how gynocentric, just how bottom of the barrel, gutter level gynocentric, you know, the progressive woman is on more than politics. But so bold about it. It's like, you think you can talk about men that way, that you can just straight up say, you know, feminists were right about everything from A to Z, and the reason anyone can take umbrage with gender studies is because, you know, they feared that gender studies would reveal the root of all these pathologies, you know, that it's no longer a matriarchy, I guess. You have that in common with Wilhelm. But I don't believe in any female-ordained superior state. No. Watch the Bernice clip. I'm going to do a Bernice clip in this. Just Duckman nailed this so well. The idea that there's just more benevolence. If we go matriarchal, there'll just be more benevolence. Ipso facto, if society goes matriarchal and the world goes matriarchal, aka, you know, more lend itself to gynocentric narratives about stuff. And there have been too many. That's my contention. There have been too many motherfucking gynocentric narratives about shit. I will never be able to weave a gender narrative in this world, this primitive-ass world, where one of the sources of male oppression is that when the male knows he's got a bull coming at him that's a fellow human male, and whatever, there can be one or another reasons behind why that is going to result in combat that you just know in advance. They can articulate it to you as they're coming straight towards you. It can be some kind of payback. You know, it's not a first personal thing. It's just the kind of thing a man can think about. You know, this hasn't happened. I was in these scraps as a very young lad, but, you know, straight up fist fights, it's never had to come to that. But, you know, one thinks. Yeah, so one thinks and one hears that you want to, the world needs to hear men's thoughts more, and men need to open themselves up. Well, I'm opening myself up, and I'm giving you, especially you gynocentric, gutter level fucking broads on Blue Sky, I'm giving you reasons to reconsider your bullshit narratives about how, you know, men wrecked all this. Because men are privileged and women are oppressed, and men, you know, took it ever further. Apparently, that's what happened. But I'm like, no. One of the reasons the gynocentric narratives still dominate, even in the era of Trump and the far right, is that men aren't even allowed to vocally note that when you refuse to back down, and especially if the person that's coming at you is a sworn enemy or even a light enemy, like, I don't care if it's the great Kali coming at me, if it's an enemy, if I know them to be some kind of a detestable figure, you know, I'm especially standing my ground then, right? If I respect them and they've just gone berserk for a bit and they're like the great Kali in size, or they're like next level Navy SEAL combat trained, but I know something about them where, like, I respect them enough, it is in those circumstances that I would back away or maybe even, you know, run away, you know, with some kind of half-ass plausible, like, oh, I'm doing it to protect them too, because I like them. But, you know, if it's a detestable figure, you know, it doesn't matter what its size is. It doesn't matter what its scope of technique and fighting is. if I detest them, it will be physically impossible for me to run away like a bitch. Even if I know I've got an ass kicking about to be handed to me, right? Now that's a source of oppression because at the end, my wiser self knows I don't want my ass handed to me. And even though it feels really bad to run away from the person you detest a lot, like if you know that it's very unlikely that you're going to surmount them physically, then, you know, that beatdown could just end your life. So it's still more prudent to like run away as a man. But you know you'll never be able to do it because men aren't wired to run away insofar as, you know, there's still a point in their life where they're not that old, I guess, and where they've got a stake in manhood. And that's what manhood is. And neither these, you know, blusterish social conservatives nor the progressives are going to change the core of manhood. And that is, you know, where do you rank on the brute force scale, the sizist scale, the burly and powerful scale? That's going to be its own video, unless I merge it with workout and peak. That's also one that's coming up. Workout and peak. Men toil in the gym and convince themselves they enjoy it. You know, where's the gender studies block of discourse on that? That men toil at the gym and convince themselves they like it. And take all these long-term negative intakes of this, that, and the other. You know, the worst of which is the Hulk juice. Yes, these broads make fun of men who take the Hulk juice, but I guarantee you, if you peruse their history, their mating history, it'll be with guys who took more often than the guys who didn't care to take. You know, for whatever reason, you know, you can get stuff other ways. Yeah, you can get stuff through personality, can't you? Yeah, you can get stuff through personality. That's what they believe. And that's why they believe in a. They may not be stupid enough to believe in a just world order in general, but they are stupid enough to believe in a sexual just world order. At least their commentary lends itself to that, you know. Oh, guys just need to be one step ahead, and they're not. They're still not, because it's evidenced by the choice of insult. I guess they don't even know that they're sublimating themselves. Just like these MAGA guys don't know they're sublimating when they insist on saying it's the left that they want to make squirm and stew. It's the women. Because if you're capable of, you know, objective analysis, as tedious as the occasional progressive male is, he's nowhere near as tedious and as blinkered, with every fucking sentence showing how fucking blinkered ideologically and also in terms of street smarts. You know, it's like a 10-to-1 ratio. So just say it, MAGA. It's not about, you know, making the left explode. It's making these broads' heads explode.
Man, look at it go.
I don't believe I've played Nick Fuentes' voice on this podcast ever. And you don't ever have to hand it to white nationalists and racists.
Tim can boast of at least one thing that I can't.
Fuentes, I have no love for him at all. And you don't ever have to hand it to white nationalists. I don't believe I've played Nick Fuentes' voice on this podcast ever. And you don't ever have to hand it to
I've played Nick here before, and there's a few seconds of Nick coming up again.
White nationalists and racists. Nick Fuentes, I have no love for him at all. I think he's deeply pernicious.
But he can be right.
Sometimes the deeply pernicious people that say what they really think occasionally like have some clarity that the hacks don't have, right? Like, you know, Sean Hannity never has any clarity because he's just a hack, right? He's just saying whatever the party wants. Because Nick Fuentes is a gross incel, like he's occasionally says stuff that the party doesn't like to hear, and every once in a while it's right. And this happens to be one of those cases. I'd like to listen to him.
It's not funny anymore. It's not edgy. It's really just become a drag. At one point, we were the trolls. And now we're the butthurt ones. There was a point in time when we were having...
How many millions of people are you talking about, Nick? They never answer. Or whatever. What is the number of people who used to be having fun, who agreed with you ideologically, who now don't know how to have fun?
And we were laughing and we were trolling and we were making jokes. And now our side are the biggest butthurt.
Yeah. This is what happens when you're this group-addled. He's a deeply group-addled young man. Or mid-20s something by now, young man.
You know, they really believe it, that these narratives about how, you know, millions and millions of people who agree with them were once just taking the piss out of everything, and now they're all butthurt about everything. Maybe it's true that now they really are butthurt about everything, but, you know, you didn't fool me before. I didn't think of any of you as irreverent, you know, like properly irreverent. No, you all just put on a show. It's why you are the way you are now. You know, all butthurt and stuff, to the point where even your ringleader recognizes it. Butthurt 24/7. Yeah, even if I have reasons to be butthurt 24/7, I'm not gonna be butthurt 24/7. But they're not like me.
At one point,
Let's see.
I'd like to listen to him.
Yeah.
It's not funny anymore. It's not edgy. It's really just become a drag. At one point, we were the trolls, and now we're the butthurt ones. There was a point in time.
Just pay attention, because he's not the only one. There's a lot of people who really, they talk this way, and they think it maps onto reality. That, you know, millions and maybe even tens of millions of people were the ones who, you know, the pranksters and the opposition were the ones who were victims of the pranks, you know, once upon a time. But now it's very different. No. Stop being group-addled, Nick. That's why there's as many problems in the world as there are. It's because people aren't individual ego-addled. They're group-addled. So a bunch of issues that are not really your issues, strictly speaking, people are convinced, oh, that's my issue because that's my group. It's just fishing for problems. There's enough problems as it is. You know, even if no one were group-addled, there would be so many problems in the world. But all this just makes it worse.
When we were having fun and we were laughing and we were trolling and we were making jokes, and now our side are the biggest butthurt of all time. The far right has become the biggest butthurt.
But you didn't fool me back then either. I could smell the butthurt off of all of you, even when you won.
Mad all the time. You can't make jokes. Everyone's moral about everything. Purity spiraling. At the end of the day, people don't even really have a vision for what the country should be.
No, the country, the vision is you all want to restore that code of knightly honor. That's why you can't make jokes when it comes to all the, you know, the really impermissible things about, you know, damsel in distress. Yeah, damsel in distress style humor, which is actually damsel in command very often. Yeah, he's kind of noticing, the poor kid's noticing that too many of his ideological cohorts abide by the damsel in distress codes. And if you make the most innocuous joke about it, they'll take offense. And so, yeah, he's kind of fed up with it. And I can't blame him.
The Republicans are butthurt. They don't have a vision. They're not fun anymore. They're whining about Bad Bunny and all the Olympians.
Yeah,
I
that's
think they're like
a lot of that coming up here.
And if you could just tell me again why you said that you came out tonight.
So I've never protested before in my entire life, but sorry.
It's all right.
I watched 4th and 5th grade kids run away from our own government. I never want to see that again.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stand by and watch my neighbors run away scared.
It was their
It's not Camden County. It's not New Jersey.
How did you put it?
And I'm not going to stand by and watch my neighbors run away scared.
Parents shouldn't have crossed borders illegally.
It's not Camden County. It's not New Jersey. It's not the United States. I love the United States.
Rules
I love New Jersey.
in
I love
life.
Camden County. I love Little Wall too. But that's not what, you know, we are. It's not who we are. And I decided I was going to come out here and stay with you guys and be part of this, because I never want to see a child ever run away from our own government ever.
Children's parents shouldn't cross borders illegally.
And I decided I was going to come out here and stay with
Be suspected of crossing borders illegally.
you guys.
Because we don't do the whole due process part of the deportation part.
Be part of this, because I never want to see a child ever run away from our own government ever again.
Yeah, they want to deport 1 out of 24 people out of the country, citizen or not. That's what they want to do.
Sorry about
1 out of 24. That's why they're going into overdrive. Hang on.
Part of this, because I never want to see a child ever run away from our own government ever again. Sorry about getting emotional.
That's okay. Thank you.
It's not okay, actually. Yeah. When you get emotional, you're subject to partisan tugs as well. Yeah. Emotional tugs are like partisan tugs. Hang on, what's going on? Just ruined my segment. Yeah, I was trying to do something else.
Sorry about getting emotional.
That's okay.
Thank you.
No, it's not.
And if you could just tell me again why you said that you came out tonight.
So I never
Something, be unemotional so you can be nonpartisan because you're anal about maybe being tricked by some partisan figure. And here's a guy who got emotional, and, kudos to him. But some would say, being emotional just means you're going to get tricked by some operative somewhere. But I'm saying even if you get tricked, yeah, there's times where it's justified being emotional. Even when the kids are perfect strangers, I would be like next level emotional if I knew any of those kids. But I don't.
Every state in which anyone other than the statesman has to concern himself with politics is ill-organized and deserves to perish by all these politicians.
Yeah.
Another great advantage that Schopenhauer enjoyed
Nietzsche
was
wouldn't have
politics is
Nietzsche
ill-ordered
wouldn't
when
have
his
joined
fatherland
your
experiences
Save
a
Our
real
Democracy
emergency.
clubs. No,
Every state
Nietzsche would have like thrown Molotov cocktails at them.
State in which anyone other than the statesman has to concern himself with politics is ill-organized and deserves to perish by all these politicians.
Pretty much anything that needs a popular initiative. Nietzsche's like, no, if it needs a popular initiative, if it needs people to knock on doors and have conversations with people who open doors, then it ought to perish. And yeah, I don't want to say it, but it's that democratic culture. The process of democracy is better than the process of patrimonialism and all that other crap, determined governance by blood and crap. So let the process of democracy go on, but for Pete's sakes, folks, you've been brainwashed by a democratic culture where it's like, Nietzsche's polemics can't even be enjoyed, I'm going to enjoy Nietzsche's polemics, even though, it's just clearly anti-democratic. But here, check it out. I'm going to enjoy, I don't care. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm sick of democratic culture. Yes, save the democracy. I agree. I'm not going to join the club, but yes, save the democracy. Thumb up. Save the democracy clubs. But, we can still enjoy Nietzsche's polemics, and that's what I'm about to do now.
Though he will not hesitate for a moment to be at his place when his fatherland experiences a real emergency.
And he also says, if there's an emergency, then you can be civically spirited. But short of emergency, nothing should need a popular initiative, says Nietzsche.
His work and will wisely refrain from reading the newspapers every day.
Don't read the news. Don't read social media. Don't read social media. Nietzsche would have said it. Nietzsche said it differently, but don't read your social media, people. Watch me instead.
Working for a political party, though he will not hesitate for a moment to be at his place when his fatherland experiences a real emergency.
Yeah, so that's kind of proportionate. If there's an emergency, then fine. I'll be distracted from my projects. If I can help in the emergency. Perfectly sensible advice.
Every state in which anyone other than the statesman has to concern himself with politics is ill-organized and deserves to perish by all these politicians.
It just sounds so good. I don't know it for a fact, I just know it sounds good.
Another great advantage that Schopenhauer enjoyed was the fact that he was not brought up destined from the first to be a scholar, but actually worked for a time, if with reluctance, in a merchant's office, and in any event breathed throughout his entire youth the freer air of a great mercantile house.
Yes, I would have benefited from the freer air of a mercantilist house. Not a peasant-minded, at least past-side, peasant-minded house.
A scholar can never become a philosopher.
Yeah.
For even Kant was unable to do so.
Oh, shots fired, Nietzsche's shots fired.
The inborn pressure of his genius notwithstanding, remained to the end, as it were, in a chrysalis stage.
Yeah.
He who thinks that in saying this, I am doing Kant an injustice.
It's so hard to finish any of Kant's works. It's so hard. He made it hard.
Does not know what, notwithstanding, remained to the end, as it were, in a chrysalis stage. He who thinks that in saying this, I am doing Kant an injustice.
It's fun to dehumanize Kant. It's just fun to do it.
Does not know what a philosopher is.
Yeah.
Namely, not merely a great thinker.
Yeah, rigor. Kant had rigor. You can't take it away from him. But despite all his rigor,
also a real human being.
Ah, yes. It's fun to dehumanize Kant.
When did a scholar ever become a real human being?
It's fun to dehumanize Kant and the scholars in general, I guess.
He who lets concepts, opinions, past events, books, step between himself and things, he, that is to say, who is, in the broadest sense, born for history, will never have an immediate perception of things, and will never be an immediately perceived thing himself.
Yeah, because he'll shy away from his own will to power, even in private. Whatever. I'm coming out in public. I'm coming out. My will to power is a concept in my mind. I'm coming out of the power closet. You know, but there's all these people because they think they have to be all professional 24/7 and impersonal. You know, they think that, like, I don't even have a will to power ever. Even in private. The concept is foreign to me. Yeah, that's kind of the impression the scholar would like you to have of him. You know, it never occurs to them to have their own will to power. Maybe it's true of some, but then we can either take them to task for being hypocrites, or we can dehumanize them if they're saintly, so we can get them both ways.
But both of these conditions belong together in the philosopher, because most of the instruction that he receives, he has to acquire out of himself.
Yeah.
And because he serves himself.
You gotta just, have a lot of time to rest, so that you have a lot of time to think while rested. Because then you have the better reflection when you're rested. You're not all tangled up in whatever happened 20 minutes ago before it's time to do the next thing. You can really deflect from the present the more time you have to rest before you think when rested. It's a sweet deal.
A reflection and brief abstract of the whole world. If a man perceives himself by means of the opinions of others, it is no wonder if he sees in himself nothing but the opinions of others. And that is how scholars are, live and see. Schopenhauer, on the other hand, had the indescribable...
You advance by just refusing to, rest up. That's how you advance. Like, I'm not going to rest up because those other guys aren't resting up. The only way I'm going to outcompete them is if I rest up even less than them. And all the people who are proud are simply going to go, I'm tired, so I'm going to rest up. But then, you lose out on the titles. But that's okay because you're proud. The vain win out on the titles and steer culture ever further into the gutter.
Good fortune to be able to see genius from close up. Not only in himself, he sees in himself nothing but the opinions of others.
It's gutter opinions.
And that is how scholars are, live and see. Schopenhauer, on the other hand, had the indescribable good fortune to be able to see genius from close up.
I'll say it, there have been some good scholars, but just as a category, I'm sorry, Nietzsche was right. Maybe he should have been a little, caveats for the good ones and stuff. He was absolutist, but... in the general, come on, they just suck.
Not only in himself.
And they do constrain. They are an obstacle to the genius because of their indifference to the genius's plight.
But also outside himself in Goethe.
Yeah.
Through this twofold reflection, he was aware of, and wise to, all scholarly goals and cultures from the ground up. By virtue of
I think when Goethe tried to get into, on stage and stuff, he couldn't last because there was too much structure.
Experience, he knew what the strong and free human being for which every artistic culture longs must be like. By virtue of this experience, he knew what the strong and free human being for which every artistic culture longs must be like. Given this insight, how could he have had much desire left to involve himself with so-called art in the scholarly or hypocritical manner of modern man? For he had seen something higher, a dreadful scene in a super-terrestrial court, in which all life, even the highest and most perfect, had been weighed and found wanting. He had seen the saint as a judge of existence. We cannot determine at all closely how early in his life Schopenhauer must have perceived this picture of life in all of its details, and as he sought to reproduce it in all his subsequent writings. We can demonstrate that he saw this tremendous vision as a young man, and can well believe that he had already seen it as a child. Everything that he subsequently appropriated to himself from life and from books, from the whole wealth of the sciences, was to him hardly more than coloring and means of expression. He employed even the Kantian philosophy above all as a extraordinary rhetorical instrument through which he believed he could speak of that picture more clearly, just as he occasionally made use of Buddhist and Christian mythology to
didn't have any time for anything ideal, but we knew that.
So was Schopenhauer right? Maybe not completely, maybe not always, but he saw something most of us are afraid to see, that the suffering isn't random, it's built in. And if we ever want to escape it, we need to understand the engine that drives it. Not to destroy the will, but to stop confusing it with who we are, because you are not your cravings.
No, but
you are the
Shop
awareness behind
says,
them. And from that place,
Shop
you can
says
finally ask
over and
the
over,
question
he
that matters.
says, you just
If I know-
are, bruv. Character is the will.
No longer need
Come on.
And if we ever want to escape it, we need to understand the engine that drives it. Not to destroy the will, but to stop confusing it with who we are, because you are not your cravings.
Yeah, except Shop is like totally in the view that you are.
You are the
But, you know, maybe Shop didn't have enough confidence in the mind then, and maybe you can outthink your will more often than when you're in the throes of genius. Maybe you could just outthink your will, you know, day to day.
Awareness behind them. And from that place, you can finally ask the only question that matters. If I no longer needed to chase anything, what would I do with my life?
Yeah.
You can't escape the fire, but you can learn how to stand in it without burning. Schopenhauer's vision of life can feel bleak, but maybe it's not a death sentence. Maybe it's an instruction manual. If you accept the will is eternal, that you'll always be pulled by desire, what then do you give up? Withdraw, renounce the world. Some do, but there's another path. One not of escape, but of recalibration. Instead of running from pain, you study it. Instead of fearing the will, you learn its rhythm. You stop letting it steer you blindly and start walking alongside it. As a guide, not a master. Because the will isn't evil, it's just primal. It gave us survival, language, art. It built civilizations, but it also built prisons. The problem isn't the will.
Yeah, you got now contracts when you want to just kind of
You learn its rhythm.
walk
Stop letting it
hand
steer
in
you blindly.
hand with the will. You got to honor contracts.
And start walking alongside it.
And they divert you.
As a guide, not a master.
No.
Because the will isn't evil, it's just primal. It gave us survival, language, art.
You need contracts for survival purposes.
It built civilizations, but it also built prisons.
Yeah, you're in a prison, a contractual prison.
The problem isn't the will.
And it's not even wedlock.
Obedience to it.
It's property.
This is where modern existentialists diverge from Schopenhauer. Nietzsche embraced the will as power. Sartre turned it into freedom.
Well, he only did so when the worms got to his brain.
Camus made peace with absurdity. Each saw the trap, and each chose a different way to walk through it.
So
maybe the answer
awful,
isn't to
what is
destroy the will
where's
or surrender to it. Maybe it's to
where's
dance with it,
Camus?
to channel
Where's
it, to
Camus?
understand that desire.
I do have Camus
Will arise,
somewhere.
but you don't have to follow every urge. You don't have to believe every craving. You can pause. Witness, choose. In that space, between impulse and
Temporarily,
action, is where
perhaps,
you find the first.
are absent,
flickers of freedom. And in those
or
flickers,
distorted
maybe life
in contemporary Europe. The fundamental subject of the myth of Sisyphus is this.
Not good.
It is legitimate and necessary.
Wrong thing about Shop on suicide. He said a wrong thing. Clipless Radio should know it's wrong. Early on in this, he says a wrong thing about Shop. I forgot when exactly. You know, Shop didn't like suicide. Shop just said it's permitted and then some.
Derek fulfilled perverse desires. Don't be like Derek, unless you just are. Derek fulfilled perverse desires. Don't be like Derek, unless you just are. Derek ran roughshod with gang. Derek partook in prison break.
People who don't defend themselves report 60% less daily stress. American Psychological Association. Think about trees in a storm. The rigid ones snap. The flexible ones bend. But the wisest trees, they grow so deep roots that the wind doesn't move them at all. But the wisest trees, they grow so deep roots that the wind doesn't move them at all. But the wisest trees, they grow so deep roots that the wind doesn't move them at end. But the wisest trees, they grow so deep roots that the wind doesn't move them at all.
Well, something here just doesn't seem right.
Cannabis, when used with intention, can help reveal this truth. Research from the University of Mexico shows that moderate cannabis users score higher on tests of self-acceptance, not because the plant changes you, but because it helps quiet the mental noise telling you to seek approval.
Sure, but I wouldn't have needed cannabis to figure out that you're an AI who's sloppy in terms of how you phrase things. You're sloppy in your script, above all else.
There's a bunch of sick fucks.
Oh man, what a revelatory week. And they're not all dumped out yet. There's more dumps, believe it or not. There's like 2.5 more million dumps left. Should I read it? Should I be a journalist like the rest of the people? Yeah, let's be a journalist about the Epstein files. I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. I think this one was available even before this last dump. Yeah, I think this was like a couple of dumps ago. That the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. But there's so many more juicy revelations, man. I just didn't land on a good one. Let's see, maybe this one. I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrotum afterwards. Oh, man. These guys are making scrotum appear where it shouldn't. A bunch of sick fucks, like the congresswoman said. But man, the lying is the worst of it, right? Every now and then you hear someone go, like, oh, well, the lying is the worst of it. The lying's pretty bad, but yeah, I'd rather be lied to by him than have my scrotum abused by him. But, you know, yeah, the truth is I'd rather be RAPED by Jeffrey and gang than, you know, have like some next level beating doled out to me by, you know, a gang, a really bad gang, a gang made up of bad boys, you know, like Derek. But, no, it's not about me. I need to keep reminding myself it's not about me. It's about the victims. So we got to do right by the victims. We got to arrest every bad man in history, even the dead ones. We got to resurrect them just so we can arrest them, so justice can be done. Yeah, so it doesn't matter that, whatever. You're not that scary. Yeah, even if you know, RAPE me as a resurrected Epstein, you know, the moment I realize what you've done, I'll just beat the shit out of you. Yeah, that's how we do it up here in manhood. We just beat the shit of our imaginary rapists, but you know, dames can't do that. So we gotta do right by dames. Yeah, it's really bad. I'm sorry. It's really bad. I'm just. How can you blame me when my preferences aren't taken into account? Yeah, it's far worse to get the shit kicked out of you than to be fondled, or worse, by, you know, a bunch of sick fucks. It's worth mentioning every now and then, because oddly no one ever mentions it. That, yeah, you know, if you're like ever in the intensive care unit because you've had the shit kicked out of you, yeah, I'll call you a survivor. But that's about the only people I'll ever call survivors.
All of those emails, those headlines, you do not need to open the body of the email. That each one is a dopamine hit. So if 10 times a day you get a dopamine hit for 3 months, you become radicalized. And that's what Dan Bongino is doing. Of course, we know that he doesn't have any specific evidence that proves the Fulton County case. But if you see that and you get that dopamine hit, you will watch him, you'll listen to him, you'll go to his YouTube feed or whatever, and he makes money off you. This whole thing, all of politics on the right has become the opportunity or the operation of basically sucking every bit of wealth away from people that don't have wealth to be drained from them to give to the most wealthy. Right? These, you know,
and they let you.
So-and-says, all these people.
Yeah, why are you putting
opportunity or the whole thing, all of politics on the right has become the opportunity or the operation of basically sucking every bit of wealth away from people that don't have wealth to be drained from them to give to the most wealthy.
Because
right?
They notice those people let them.
These, you know, the Candace Owenses, all these people, they're worth millions of dollars, but they're going to get that person on a fixed income to give them money or to pay attention so they can drain that further wealth.
So why does it work, Adam? Why does it work?
And I think we have to talk about it in that term. So Dan Bongino, screw you, you're a con artist as well.
Yeah, you're a con artist. I like you snuck in there that you're demonstrating no fear of favor.
How do you put it?
To the most wealthy. right? These, the Candace Owenses, all these people,
but before,
or whatever, and he makes money
the whole shebang, that's the thing.
We'll watch him, you'll listen to him.
Like, I understand if it's half of it, but the whole shebang is about
his YouTube feed or whatever, and he makes money off you. This whole thing, all of politics on the right has become the opportunity or the operation of basically sucking every bit of wealth away from people that don't have wealth to be drained from them to give to the most wealthy. Right?
Yeah, that was kind of what it was about before, but they needed all these institutions and business practices and business-friendly environments to do so. Now they just do it through the internet.
The Candace Owenses, all these people, they're worth millions of dollars, but they're going to get that person on a fixed income to give them money or to pay attention so they can drain that further wealth from them. And I think we have to talk about it.
So, why didn't that person know better? Presumably most of these people who give money to the Candace Owenses of the world, presumably they all went to school and probably skipped classes far less than I did. But, like, why can I figure it out? I, who skipped far more classes and got shitty grades, especially last few years of high school, I can see it from a mile away, but that many people can't see it. It's like there's something fishy going on here. School is that which prepares you for life. But if there's that many people giving money to already enriched Candace Owens and Dan Bongino and the rest of them, yeah, it's almost as if school doesn't really prep you for the hyenas you're going to encounter in the world, even digitally.
Screw you, you're a con artist as well.
You're a con artist. I like you snuck in there that you're demonstrating no fear or favor if you get appointed the FBI director.
No fear or favor.
Me if I did a crime. I appreciate that.
I'll come after my own mom if she did a crime, dude.
There we go. No family values there. That's where it starts. It starts with their family values, where it's like, if it's my mommy who commits a crime, I'm going to stick by my mommy no matter what. Probably because I'm afraid of daddy.
I just also want to say clearly that Dan Bongino is a loser. He's a loser. He got into the FBI and totally failed. Think about this.
Yeah, but by just the blind institutional merit and title criteria, his name appears there and yours doesn't. Whatever the most prestigious thing you're going to do, Tim, it's not going to be as prestigious as Dan Bongino if we just look at it institutionally per the credit the institution gives you, right? His name is etched in stone there forever. Yours isn't. You're just a podcaster. But, you're at least somewhat successful. So, yeah, when you're this successful, you don't need to think about it that much. But see, I think about it more. So, to call Dan Bongino a loser, as you did...
Dan Bongino is a con artist. I just also want to say clearly that Dan Bongino is a loser.
Yeah, but that only works out. Only I can call him a loser. Because I don't grovel for institutional approval, like presumably you both do in your own ways, You really got to cut off the monster at the top, at the neck or the head, And what happens then? What happens when self-esteem is no longer intermingled with what institutions think of you and whether... the more prestigious an institution is, the more willing it is to accept you, the more you're supposed to, expect to be congratulated by the rest of society. And the more the rest of society will congratulate you, because that's all they see. They just have eyes and ears, and not much in the way of judgment. Yeah, so, moral of the story is, fuck institutions and have self-esteem apart from them.
You got into the FBI and totally failed.
And then you can take umbrage with people who get into the FBI and totally fail on a level as coherent as I can.
Jim Comey walks free. Tish James walks free. Don Lemon walks free. I was on his live stream earlier today. The people who supposedly stole the 20...
You colluded with Don Lemon. Okay, fine. You get all kinds of... people with all kinds of impressive views, they still feel the need to collude ever more. But that's okay. Man, look at it go.
There's a bunch of sick fucks.
The member of Congress was able to read the unredacted files.
And honestly, it's just so depraved, and it's sick, and it's not a cabal. It's so much bigger than a cabal. It is a vast network of rich and powerful people believing they can do whatever they want.
You can't tell the girls to the view because you help me, or they're going to know we did the damn first. We don't know nothing.
Is it true or not? I can't assess it. I'm not the FBI. I'm a freaking podcaster, but I do know how the system works, and it's really simple.
There's a bunch of sick fucks.
By people who self-consciously incorporated Christian precepts into their structure of government. So Charlie was committed to that. Erica, who I just saw backstage.
It's not about Charlie. It's not about Erica either. Let's turn down. Let's turn Tucker down because you can see the text. Yeah, Tucker doesn't need to be heard. You got the text to cover him. But actually, let's just do this other thing.
That is rooted in Christian faith. We believe people should be able to say what they think.
Just one more time.
By people who self-consciously incorporated Christian precepts into their structure of government.
Or people who figured out that, it's easier to get really dumb, credulous people to think you're always on their side if you too are Christian. Couldn't have anything to do with that.
So Charlie was committed to that. Erica, who I just saw backstage.
Committed to the credulous.
And who I can tell you was totally committed.
That's almost like living life on easy mode is when you're committed to do right by the credulous. And the less credulous, the more you're looking for trouble, but not necessarily power, but trouble. But if you want power, you just try to appease the credulous by saying you too are Christian.
To continuing the core principle of Charlie's public life.
No,
which is
it's so hard. It's so much harder. It's so much. Why you fucking assholes are doing this, vertical thing? It's harder to hold the phone this way, but I can do this too.
Express what he believes. That is rooted in Christian faith. We believe people should be able to say what they think because they have souls.
And what if they don't? All those high-minded ends just drop them like nothing, like yesterday's garbage, just because there's no souls. Yeah, I guess that's just how hollow you are. Well, see, I don't believe in souls, and yet I still see many reasons to uphold liberties, and especially intellectual liberties. But why do you need souls? It's almost like you're a little kid in a candy store, and you just want to steal a bunch of candy. Or some kind of better analogy that I just couldn't think of right now, but it's like, why do you need the dessert to be that sweet? Why do you need the souls?
Created by God.
It's like lightly salted chips are not good enough. We need like the saltiest chips ever. If there's no soul, there's no reason to protect individuals. Really, Tucker?
They are not slaves. They are not animals.
Yeah, if not A, then B. If you don't have a soul, you must be a slave.
They are not objects. You cannot tell.
It's so hard with Tucker because you can't go like even a full sentence without pausing him within the sentence because he puts so much crap within. Just like presumptuous crap, fallacy of the excluded middle type crap. Man, he makes those fallacies all the time. He mouth craps and he's very powerful.
Another human being to shut up, even shut up racist, because you don't own him.
God owns him.
He
Godder
is an independent, autonomous person created by God as an individual.
Yeah, that's why he's autonomous, is because God owns his soul.
So that's where that belief...
God owns your ass, and then you're autonomous.
So that's where free speech comes from.
Oh,
and there's no accident. This is the only country in the world that protects it.
So God also created minors, right? Like your mommy and daddy created you, but God also created you. So you get the same rights the adults do because you're created by God. Is that how it works?
Because our founding documents...
Oh, just so easy to see that you just mouth crap. You just crap within your mouth with every word you mouth.
Informed, as you just heard so nicely expressed by Mike.
But seriously, like if you've parroted this kind of stuff, if you think that the reason we have free speech and the reason we are inviolable as individuals is because we have souls, like you really do need to ask yourself, like, would you just be a barbarian if you deconverted from soul belief? He's essentially admitting that he would be a barbarian if he deconverted from soul belief and Godder belief. Well, maybe he wouldn't. Yeah, because he's doing the whole, they're stupid and credulous thing. Right. I'm on your side, ye credulous ones. But still, man, how do you say stuff like that? How do you, essentially, there's people who aren't that onto you. There's a lot of people who actually do think that when you say you're Christian, that you really are. But they're like, how does it never occur to them to ask it of you or to ask it of themselves? Don't I just suck if I think that absent a soul, I just deny everyone their freedom and I would think that they are viable as individuals, were it not for the soul. Yeah, you need the most tasty snack ever. You just can't do with like a little bland snack as the reward. No, the reward for us believing in virtuous things, it has to be like super delicious.
Well, Knowles, my friend.
Yeah.
by
There's
people,
people who like refer to a lot of people they barely know as their friend. Yeah. That's also a type of credulity.
who self-consciously
How to win friends and influence people. Yeah, Tucker read the book, and Tucker applies the book to give or take half the country.
incorporated
But maybe less than half the country nowadays. Anyway.
structure of government.
Yeah.
So Charlie was committed to that. Erica, who I just saw backstage, and whom I love.
Yeah, around this time in December 2025, I saw him give an interview that I can't find now, but he gave an interview where he made more or less these same points. And then I, finished my shift and like I had a big long rant about it as I was walking back home. And yeah, I said I would look up the clip, and I did eventually, but it's a different clip. But he's making the same points that pissed me off in the clip. So here's that long rant outside where I was just really, he got me going. He got me going.
Love, and who I can tell you is totally committed.
But I can't find the actual, clip that I had in mind, but this is close enough. I'm outside for a long time. Something like an hour. Outside audio. Coming up next on No Avail. And then the Super Bowl halftime show as done by me. Yeah, I do a Super Bowl halftime show too. Like I do my own song, man. And that's long too. That's like 20 minutes. But I don't care. Why not? Let's live a little.
Can I make this light? Can I make this light if I run? It's an adventurous audio. No, I can't make this light. I wanted to because there's a dog walker behind me and I can't concentrate, but you know what? I like a good challenge. There's an opposite side of the street light that I'm gonna try to make by running diagonally. No, I'm not. Anyway, I gotta do a spontaneous audio because it's all about spontaneity. It's all about spontaneity when you get off work, when you get off the shift, because the shift is structure. So you reach for some spontaneity. I'm gonna make this light. No. Man, high traffic this early in the morning. What's going on? What's going on to my burbs? Burbs aren't supposed to be this jammed up with traffic and shit. Anyway, the audio is abrupt because shortly before my shift finished, I made the mistake of listening to Tucker, last name Carlson, and it was a very nauseating speech. He was bloviating about the sanctity of the individual. And it's like, because God said so. If God's not a part of the story, it's an incoherent story. I don't know the whole thing. It was like a podcast or an interview. I just saw the clip. But he's in there, he's bloviating about how the individual must be protected. And I'm like, you of all people, Tucker? The completely gobbling up group identity style narratives, initially by way of patriotism and then hardcore nativism, and now just pretty much playing footsie with one white nationalist after another. So he's got to be called on it. And so I heard it at work and I remembered it and I filed it. And now I've stepped out and I'm calling him on it. You can't. It makes no sense. Even as a familialist, I'm going to say, it makes no sense to talk about the sanctity of the individual. I guess, maybe in terms of like moral protection, they have a little more breathing room than in the way of like, uniqueness of personality is awesome. And the fewer conformists there are in society, the better. On like, at least like traditionalism. The fewer conformists, tradcon conformists there are, the better. Because those folk are never unique and individualistic, right? So yeah, more wiggle room in terms of protection than in terms of like what kind of people do we want to be. Yeah, we want to be a dissimilar people, but not on comedy. I want more conformity on comedy, and specifically my brand of comedy, which doesn't seem to be very popular these days. I'm not seeing anyone else doing what I'm doing. But yeah, so Tucker gave us, it just made me nauseous. And the shift wasn't exactly pleasant. And like, why do I do that? Why do I, that's not the cherry. Like, I know in advance, Tucker Carlson is not going to be the cherry on the shit cake that is my shift. But I click on the freaking Tucker clip. It's because the blue sky folk are these hounds on Tucker. They hound the guy. I'm like, it might be the case with Fraudster. It might be the case that, like, were he not the president, you know, post Jan 6th, post, you know, the Biden administration, were he not the president right now, like, I think a lot of people would still be talking about him, you know, more than Mary Trump, his niece. You know, that's also not individualistic, but, you know, Tucker Carlson, of all people, bloviating about individualism. No, not even morally, Tucker. You know, you'd sacrifice 1,001 and probably a gajillion and one individuals if it's your child on the other side of the pond and, you know, they're all drowning. You're in the motorboat, it's your precious child or whatever, wife, or, you know, these people you tether yourself to emotionally because you're needy. That's the truth, you know. Only the West understands individualism, but we're like hardcore familialists, especially in America. Yeah, we select a handful of people to care about, and we give vows through wedlock that till death do us part. It doesn't matter how often you're disappointed, you know, in every which way by the people you now call your family, because people change, because nothing is constant, right? Right? It doesn't matter how profoundly and repeatedly disappointed you are locked in as a family man. Because if you're just that off-put by them and you disassociate, they're not going to be as well off materially, probably, because you probably make more than her. You know, even to this day, you know, guys still out-earn dames, like in totality. Although I think it's because the billionaires tip the scales, ultimately. No, I think we can even count, like, the millionaires as well. So, yeah, if you include the millionaires and especially the billionaires, like, yeah, guys still out-earn. And maybe even, you know, like, you count the 6-digit earning folk. Even those, you know, but like the pre-6-digit there. Yeah, chicks do out-earn guys these days, but post 6 digits. But yeah, so like, yeah, if you want to skip town as a father, as a husband, because nothing is constant, and your family increasingly disappoints you, you know, I've referenced this, I'll keep referencing it. You know, my pops is profoundly disappointed in my 2 half-brothers. These 18-year-old kids, one of them's a drug, heroin addict, I think meth too. You know, I'm like, have you seen Breaking Bad? It's like, no. Like, wow. You should watch Breaking Bad. It's the one thing that might snap you out of it. But anyway, like, he's profoundly disappointed in his children. Every time I ask him about his wife, which in Serbian, there's a demeaning synonym. Understood ironically, there's a very demeaning synonym to the word wife, and I think across all of Eastern Europe too. It's a synonym, but it's like understood, like at least implicitly, sometimes explicitly, if you use the right tone, it's understood to be demeaning. And so I never say, how's your wife, or how's insert name doing. I always use that synonym, because I gotta speak Serbian to him, or he's just gonna like understand maybe 1/5 of what I said. Yeah, so, you know, he can't skip town. They might still make ends meet without him, but it's going to be rougher. But he wouldn't skip town. The truth is, he understands he has an obligation. You know, but he tries to make it so it's like, I made a mistake because I'm 40 and I'm familyless. And it's like, what are you even living for? And I'm like, every time I ask you for an update on them or on her, you either roll your eyes or you just rant about them. And you can't skip town. You're locked in, and you can't admit to yourself that you made a huge mistake. I've never seen him this miserable. I have to enjoy it to some extent. Because he too does not grasp individualism, because he too is a needy creature, because he too is a product of the fucking patriarchy. This is all patriarchal brainwashing. You know, I'm sure there's some, you know, codependence, biopathic thing as well. See, that's what I was hoping Wilhelm would get to, like a biopathic characterological flaw and defect because of a person's overabundance of codependence. And it like leads them to fail to figure the simplest things out because they're just that fucking codependent. Yeah, You know, if you're just that emotionally stirred by the prospect of extended solitude, it's like, yeah, I'm a threat to you. I must be a threat to you. Because I'm going to expose you for what you are, yeah. So much of this fascism stuff really is like making more and more sense now, but in specific ways that like I've never heard anyone else expose. But there might be like where Wilhelm went wrong in attributing a biopathic sexual repression and then making too much of it. But again, blaming patriarchy the way I do here, there might be a biopathic characterological flaw in like the average person, leading to an overabundance of a need for external validation, which can't help but lead to codependence, right? You know, and then like individuals like me are like we're such threats because we can expose it, we can articulate it, and they must on some level understand that that's what goes on internally with them, their interiority. I'm not gonna pretend to be a foreigner to it. I've made it clear in the past. I understand what it's like, but it's a youth and childhood thing. In childhood, you're especially sensitive to it. You know, if you're an outcast, it really sucks as a kid. And then less so as a teen, and then less so youth, early adulthood. And then you're just completely free. Because you don't have the vanity thing, you have the pride thing. Because, you know, you seem to be getting by better in the world than most people. Most people, you dig deep enough, they've got one or another flaw that's like a catastrophic flaw if you had it, right? And you can see, like, yeah, if I were you, I just might need external sources of pride, and therefore, you know, not actual pride. You know, it's got to be inwardly rooted. And I think it's like fascists understand this about them, but never lucidly. And they, like, maybe they interpret certain others as being less captive to this. And that's what stirs them up so much and causes them to, in one country after another, in one land after another, in one era after another, you know, be duped by these demagogues. Wilhelm said it's like all about their sexuality. The biopathic thing with the characterological serfdom pipeline is the sexy times being restricted. I'm not wholesale dismissing that. No, sir. No, I'm saying there's more. And far more in the direction of this, you know, non-lucid shame. They feel a non-lucid shame in the innermost depths of their interiority because of their codependence. And when they see independence in action, and especially in a man, you know, it's like they want that man to die in prison the way Wilhelm died. 1957, I think. In the land of the free. Wilhelm Reich died for thought crimes. And many other people, because of the existence of fascists, will die for their thought crimes and even for just standing up for the basic rule of law. You know, let's not rule out the possibility that Mark Kelly might end up dead. Because there's just one too many weak-willed, weak-minded fascists in America, who he's quick to call his co-patriots. Tucker Carlson needed patriotism, then he needed nativism, this hard line, non-compromising, you know, banish all asylum forever. You know, then it was the nativism, and then it was ultimately white supremacy. Can't cozy up to the Fuenteses of the world. So you're the last one who should be preaching about individualism, bud. Maybe I'll play the speech when I get home. Yeah, so I didn't mean to spiral into the fascism thing, but isn't it, you know, isn't it a better thesis? Like, if I were crafty enough to write papers, the way, like, philosophers write papers, or, you know, if I had the time, if I didn't have to fucking work, I'd concoct a paper and present this in a more systematized way. I can do it. It's not comedy. I'm finally able to articulate something that I've, you know, long sensed in others. And, you know, noticed in myself as a kid especially. And now I'm finally able to, like, really articulate it because I see it lucidly. Like, that's why there's so many rotten people in the world. It's because fear breeds hostility. And especially when you feel like that the person, the object of your hostility can expose you. You know, it's not enough to just be hostile to them, then you're gonna want them dead. dead and buried, every last one of them. And you're going to want a fascist society where everyone's kind of, you know, on the down low on this. That's the allyship. You know, the biopathic, characterological serfdom, allyship, commonality, fellowship, right, bond between fascists is that they know no one will expose them because everyone is as defective, more or less, in the society. The lies are so flagrant. Pete Hegseth now is trying to walk back, trying to blame shift on the other guy for the September 2 strikes. There's no way any of these people can block out the fact that they're bold-faced liars and worms and, you know, wheeling, dealing, you know, squealing when the squealing can get you out, tattletaling. You know, they'll do anything. They'll even fucking slit an ally's throat for a slice of pizza if the pizza looks tempting enough. And if it's been like, you know, one too many hours since they've started getting hungry. You know you can get away with it. A fascist, you think, what, J.D. Vance wouldn't slice Stephen Miller up if he's guaranteed he can get away with it and gain in the process? You know, right now he doesn't know whether he'll be the president, but let's say we stipulated to him, you know, Omega shows up and says, J.D. Vance, the only way it's going to be guaranteed that you're going to end up in that chair is one of your trusted allies. No one's going to know you did it, but you're going to have to end them, and brutally and painfully. Like, there's nothing in J.D. Vance at this point. There's nothing in him that makes me think, no way would J.D. do that. That's his ally. Right? But that's kind of an extravagant concoction scenario. That wouldn't happen in real life. So in real life, they can more or less rely on the fact that they're not threats to each other because they're suffering from a more or less similar thing. You know, vapidity in the first place, banality, that dull gravity of ordinary men is the gravity of fascism. You know, Schaub said here and there, the dull gravity of ordinary men. You know, we can tether that to this fascism mentality stuff too, I think. You know, you grow up thinking like it might be you. It might be you that's sensing something or that's made uncomfortable when you're, you know, among the ants, you know, in society, when you have to mingle. It might be you that's sensing some dullness that doesn't exist. So no, it was there. Innermost depth pathology brings you down. That's why those back-to-school commercials brought me down like nothing else. You know, those back-to-school, you're a kid, you're thriving in the summer. It's the only time you can thrive. You're thriving in the summer, and it's like not even the third week of August, and it's like those back-to-school commercials show up. This is just the most sickening feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'm going to be among a bunch of adults who are going to have control over me. You know, in the worst cases, like hall monitor pass. You know, and many of these kids, like 80% of these kids, I think in every school I went to, 80% of these kids were just utterly unamusing as kids. And you kind of think that, oh, maybe it's you, but then they amuse each other enough. And it's like sometimes you're the outcast, but like clearly your thoughts are so much richer and what you have to say is so much richer, but you can't get to them. And so schooling is also, amidst all the other things I've said in critique of schooling, it's also a place where, like, you know, especially if you're rich in thought and a character and strength, like, you're going to be the outcast. Because, like, the kids are these, you know, soon-to-be fascists in all likelihood. Like, Wilhelm was right. It is the average person. Think about it. The typical listener of this channel, think about it. Like, if you're still listening, like, you're not that person. So I'm asking you to think about it. Like, what else makes sense of so many of these other eternal flaws, these timeless flaws in society? What else makes sense of it? Other than the fact that there's something in the average person that corresponds to those as the outcomes, as the repeated predictable outcomes. You know, there's just so much wealth, and yet it's so difficult to feasibly, technocratically, you know, logistically, despite all the wealth, to come up with an A to Z process, a blueprint that leads to a process that can actually be implemented to just end poverty, right? If you had to do it with everything being as it is, but let's say you had, a significant decisional power in one or another body, politic, org, but there's still all these other people who would be obstacles, right? Like, what would you do that's different? You wouldn't do anything that's different. That's why even on the progressive side, like, people are wowed by Bernie. But Bernie's got a formula. He's going to stick to it. Stuck to it for decades. Has that formula served him well? Well, yeah. What is it? What is that state? I sometimes make fun of it by that long form pronunciation of it. I can't think of that now. The state Bernie serves, that's the only success he's had in politics. He's a congressman from that state. New Hampshire! Yeah, I knew I'd remember it. New Hampshire. What other success did Bernie have in terms of his, hopeful runs for anything? But he didn't change up his formula because these other defective normies in blue America can't figure out that it's a very unimpressive string of sentences. You got to say more. So they're defective in their own way, but then, these fucking serfs, man, I'm telling you, these medieval-minded, religiosity-obsessed, God has to make it so because we really don't believe in human reason. That's why God has to be the, all-encompassing answerer. God is the answerer. God is Father, to serve your emotional needs, but then God as a theological entity, because we need this didactic answer to our questions, because we don't really believe in human reason, probably because we don't got much of it, us religious folk, probably because we just don't got much of it. We don't got much first-hand experience with reason. That's why we reach for theology. Sophisticated enough. It seems like reason. Because we have no fucking clue what first-hand account of reason feels like and, just that intuitive sense for it. What else explains the endurance of theology? And God is the, how they stipulate, like Ben Shapiro loves to just hardcore stipulate and just assert, it's so outlandish that atheists think they can ground morality and, sociability and, just goodwill. It's so obscene that they think they can ground it without God as the didactic answerer to the next question, right? Because even foundationalists are not fully off the hook. But see, you got to be able to endure uncertainty, even if it leads to some amount of anxiety. Uncertainty, ambiguity, unanswered questions or incompletely answered questions. The old nuance. And yeah, some things are very important and yet they're not clinched. Religious folk, they know not of reason. They don't believe in it. They reach for theology as the replacement and sanctity. And they've got their motor mouths who will, talk fast and tell him things that sound good to them. Mostly because the guy talks fast. He's not the only one. Tucker more or less as well. I started ranting about Tucker. God, 22 and a half minutes later. Sorry, I see something and then I have to endure the colleagues, the dull colleagues, well-intentioned people. But then I just leave and I just explode. But yeah, what else explains so many failures, institutional failures across all time, apart from the fact that our fellows, the average person has always been profoundly defective. I don't mean them any harm. Unless they mean me harm, then I mean them a lot of harm. You mean me harm? I mean you a lot of harm. Yeah, that's a good way to bottom line it. I don't care how defective you are. If you're all Martians and there's no animals and clueless children you're abusing and spawning, yeah, fine. Live eternally in peace with each other. You defective, characterological serfdom suffering dullards and simpletons and rubes and plebs and normies. You know, if you're on Mars with Elon, I'll leave you alone. But if you mean me harm, and you do, sometimes you do without even realizing it. You know, you mean me harm. I said what I said. This planet's not big enough for the two of us. For me and the fascists. This planet's not big enough. Made my childhood far worse than it should have been. You know, a good chunk of my youth too made them far worse. These fascists. Yeah, man is the biggest blight on man. Or however the quote went by Voltaire. You know, man is man's biggest blight. It's not these natural sources, these, but, you know, non-anthropogenic engines of harm versus anthropogenic. You know, a decade ago I would have said, no, the anthropogenic, you know, the human-sourced engines of harm are not the biggest driver of harm for humanity in the world. I very much believe something different today. See, I can change my mind on stuff. Yeah, man is man's biggest burden and harm spreader. And no, I'm saying, like, procreation just will stipulate doesn't even count, because if procreation counts, then of course, you know, I would have said it a decade ago too. But like, procreation aside, you know, we just forget that part. It's a clause or something. Procreation aside, still, man is by leaps and bounds the biggest blight on man. In some cases, like if you're disabled, okay, then nature is a bigger blight on you, nature per se. Sorry, that's what I believe. I also don't mean you any harm either. You self-esteem mongers, you self-esteem self-mongers, known as the disabled pride community. You know, no one should ever think less of you, no one should ever mistreat you. You know, but yeah, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't be self-sufficient. In the worst cases, you can't like really properly even do the hygiene stuff and wipe your ass. No, you're objectively worse off than someone who can, all else being equal. I don't see much pride in that. Doesn't mean anyone should mistreat you. Doesn't mean anyone should think less of you. But see, that's to do with fortune and misfortune. These are two words that I think are as important or more important than right and wrong. Or what else do they say? Good and evil. But that purely kind of first order axiological category of fortune and misfortune. This is how you annul their God objection. As you say before, we can even talk about good and evil, right and wrong, sanctity and perversity. We got to talk about fortune and misfortune. What do we mean by these things? You know, what is the axiological good and the axiological bad? And, you know, I would contend firmly that, you know, the bad prevails over the good across all time. That's why all these institutions can't solve poverty despite all the time in the world and all the wealth in the world. You know, the bad has more of a force in this world. The bad prevails over the good. There was that paper I mentioned in that 2023 video, man, the bad, that was an awesome, that paper, man, I'm gonna start linking things like that paper in my videos, man. That paper convincingly argued that the bad preponderates over the good and misfortune over fortune, right? And it's a good way to summarize consequentialism, right? Like, consequentialists, at least in one sense, have to believe that there's like a link between fortune and misfortune and right and wrong action and right and wrong intention and quality of will. Like, quality of will has to be mindful to the overall configuration of fortune and misfortune that befalls individuals in the world. Yeah. Now, consequentialists don't have to be like absolutely obsessed and say like in every way right and wrong must correspond to fortune and misfortune and nothing but, right? I think that's like the temptation of hard determinism, is to say like if you're a hard determinist and you want to do ethics, nothing else makes sense. Nothing else makes sense but to say that like in every sense we got a chain, a ball and chain, fortune and misfortune as these primary axiological categories with right and wrong action. and whatever intention too. But for consequentialists, like primarily action. You know, act consequentialist, act utilitarians, much less than rule utilitarians, you know, and all those hybrids of the two. And God, there's been so much hair splitting in these history. I still love ethics, man. I still love ethics. I just know not to talk about it. There's no point, you know. But I would not identify as a consequentialist. Now that I brought this whole stuff up, I would not identify as one, but I still think there's more of a kinship between that moral theory and what I would want the world to achieve than any other rival moral theory. You know, I'm more partial to consequentialism, maybe a weak form of it, than any rival thing that I've read up on, including care ethics. Ooh, care ethics. If we just care hard enough, it'll be okay. If we just care hard. Care harder, right? It's like the anti-twatter. Holy shit, right? Cry more, cry harder. It's like care ethics. It's like care harder or care more. It's like the ultimate anti-twatter thing, right? Care as like a fourth thing. It's not just virtue theory, deontology, and consequentialism. It's also care ethics. Just care harder. Yeah, but on Twitter, it's like cry more, cry harder. See, like this is such an antithesis, man, between the good and the bad, right? Anyway, yeah, fascists are also sadists who say cry more. Yeah, thanks for announcing that you're a sadist, bud. Okay, even I've said, cry more, and even I delight that, my old man's suffering. Because I know he suffers from his own fucking homophobia. His kids are gay, and he's all but disowned them. And I'm like, yeah, cry more, or whatever, vent more. I delight in your misery. So yeah, I too can be prone to some of this sadism stuff, but it's always defensive and combative of other sadists and victimizers. That's the only time I delight at others' misfortune and whatnot, negative affairs, is when I know that they're the type of people, whether I know them or not directly, or whether I do, like if I know that that's the type of person who, if they knew me and if they even heard what I've just said in this audio, like that type of person would mean me harm. I'm old enough to just know within minutes at this point in my life. I've pegged people down. People are so fucking predictable. That's why the internet and the commentariat world is feels so phoned in and predictable. Clout chasing has never been this glaring. Power and clout, man. That's what the fucking GOP fasci media sphere is obsessed with. Power and clout. But they think they're lofty. That's how good they are at disassociating. They really do think they're lofty. They really did probably listen to Tucker give that speech and go, he really nailed it. The individual is sacrosanct and God assures it. But then it's like, you're victimizing a bunch of individuals in your own fucking country. Tucker hasn't renounced the Trump regime. He has not said anything like, it would have been better if Kamala had won. Not even close. What the fuck are you talking about, the sanctity of the individual? Why are all those people blown up in Venezuela? Why are all those, non-whites hauled off to Alligator Alcatraz without due process? Why are all those other detainees? Because of fraudster's agenda and Stephen Miller's agenda and J.D. Vance's agenda. J.D. Vance would slice and dice Stephen Miller for a slice of pizza if it was delicious enough looking and if he hadn't eaten it enough. But that's like, what? All those people? No. Clout, power, fraudster's case, especially. But then at the same time, they want to convince themselves, like, yeah, I agree, Tucker. It's all about the sanctity of the individual. No. But anyway, yeah, so, God, it's just never been this obvious that these people have nothing inside them. Nothing that grasps reason or an actual other regarding kind of affect that leads to an other regarding ethic. It's just clout and power. They're on good terms with their allies because they know their allies are a lot like them and there won't be much in the way of sabotage, unlike with the outgroup members. Because they know their emptiness and their codependence as like the innermost facet of them. They know it. They must know it. It can't be any other way. Nothing else explains the endurance of group identity, the serfdom, the Godder needs. You know, the fact that like they would, like, yeah, you know, if I had a kid, and yeah, there's a great many other kids on the opposite side of the pond who are drowning, you know, versus my kid on the other side of the pond. Like, yeah, I'm in a motorboat. I'm first going to go to my kid. But maybe not if my kid is an utter scumbag. Yeah, if I truly do see my kid objectively, and I've come to believe that my kid is an utter scumbag, then I wouldn't. Then I would steer the motorboat. I would betray the blood and soil horseshit. And I would side with MLK. You know, character trumps... a non-character. Character trumps scum. But like, if I like my kid and respect my kid, you know, and love my kid, and there's this great many other children on the opposite side of the pond who are drowning, and my kid is drowning on the other side, it's like, yeah, first I'm steering toward my kid. So I'm just smart enough because I use reason, because I actually have a first-hand account of reason, because I'm not stunted as a human being. I use reason to deduce that I ought not procreate, and I ought not put myself in any such perilous moral position. And the existence of people like me who can think about all this stuff clearly and reasonably and lucidly and articulate it, like, I can totally see how we would be such a menace, like the ultimate menace to fascists. So Canada better damn not turn fascists, because I can't contain my frank speech, even if I know that it would land me in prison or worse. I'm too damn bold and disinhibited these days. So yeah, if Canada also goes fascist, I don't know, by way of being swallowed by the US and no longer being Canada, you know, I'm gonna have to leave. I know I'm kind of catastrophizing. It's still unlikely at this point that Canada will be swallowed, but you know, it's a possibility, and it's like, I would not cow to these people. I don't think myself physically infallible, but, you know, unless it's like literally Andrew Tate, like, yeah, you know, someone talks the way these guys talk in threads and says the shit these guys say, you know, from the hyper-religiosity to the stuff they say about their enemies, some of whom, you know, overlap with me ideologically to some extent. Like, if these guys spoke this way in my proximity, well, I would just say, let's throw down, motherfucker. Because anything else would be insincerity on my part. Because that's how I feel. Right? I'm not trying to sound like a internet badass or anything. I'm just relaying what I feel. And when I read them post the way they do and just shit talk the way they do and be as clumsy as they are, when I see that, yeah, I was like, if this person were in my presence, there'd be no other way. Anything else would cause me to be insincere. I would just have to say, let's fucking throw down, motherfucker. It's not because I think myself physically infallible. It's because I'm committed to sincerity. But luckily for me, I've only ever felt these kinds of things online. So maybe I need to be online less. Thank you for listening. But yeah, it was the Tucker speech, and then I scrolled through a few comments, and it just set me off. And then I had to wait, and that's why I was so pent up here. I do appreciate your time. I especially liked the fortune misfortune, and how consequentialists, at least in one sense, like if you're a weak consequentialist, yeah, you would tether right and wrong in ethics to fortune and misfortune, and you're kind of observing how it shapes the lives of all parties involved. You know, especially, you know, like children born to poverty who like develop certain pathologies where if not for the poverty, you know, they wouldn't have developed those pathologies. And so like those children, we should, like, if there's some non-trivial degree of hope that we can do right by them by rehabilitating them to some extent. Let's say it's a pathology like, I don't know, violent outbursts, and it can be treated, but the kid had poor parents, so it wasn't treated. So the kid had like violent outbursts and, you know, spent some time in juvie or jail or something, because it like led to even early adulthood, just violent outbursts. But not like psychopathy or sadism or anything, just violent outbursts in the presence of douchebaggery. You know, and it could have been handled were the kid's parents simply rich. So the kid is like, he's got a rap sheet, you know, even as an adult, for violent outbursts, but he's not like a ill-intentioned person. It's just an impulsive person in the presence of that which annoys him. It's not me. I'm just coming up with a hypothetical here. I was supposed to end this. Sorry. I was supposed to end this. I'm going to end this now. Holy shit. It's going to be too long to send as a single. It's 39 minutes. I was also jangling my earphones, so you would have probably heard a lot of clicky-clacky. I literally took my earphones out. Seconds before I pressed record. I've long since deserted those traffic lights that I was initially traversing. I've long since deserted them. Oh man, yeah, fascists as non-lucid people. Fascists as people who have only a glimmer of perspective on just about anything, but enough craftiness to get by in the world. And even kind of have a low resolution understanding of political machinery and organize and support their demagogues across all times and all lands. Fascist as non-lucid, weak-willed, codependent, tribalistic, biopathy, characterological serfdom people. And orgastic longing to some extent as well, which gives way to the race myth, as Wilhelm put it.
He's a bunch of sick fucks.
Brute simple. Because they are. It's no longer the title, but at one point that was the title. I think I shuffled through like 4 different titles. And then some before the project started. Yeah, like throughout the month I was shuffling for this video, like so many titles, but then even this, like what? No. Oh, there's better titles.
Yeah, if I truly do see my...
You can be like a familial simp too.
kid objectively,
and not in the abstract either.
I've come to believe that my kid is an utter scumbag.
Get it? Because they think this is reasonable? Right? When they say like antinatalists aren't just wrong. No, they're the pathological ones because they use reason against their conditioning, right? Resist the conditioning, question the conditioning, but not when it comes to biology and your core drives.
Yeah, brute simple, but, you know, also your simps, your familial, you know, bloodline simps. But hang on, what am I saying?
Then I would.
Hang on, what am I saying?
Objectively, and I've come to believe that my kid is an utter scumbag.
Yeah, which a lot of people can't muster.
Then I wouldn't. Then I would steer the motorboat. I would betray the blood and soil horseshit.
And horseshit it is.
And I would side with MLK.
But even these libs can't do it on the familial issue. Too difficult, you know. You know, even those who hate their family members, or at least, you know, view them as suspect in one or another sense, you know, or just don't hate them but find them insufferable. Yeah, they can't part ways. You know, that obnoxious uncle they keep complaining about. We have to hear about it every November. You know, the Yanks complaining about having to spend Thanksgiving with their obnoxious uncle and other extended obnoxious, conspiratorial, paranoid relatives. We have to spend every Thanksgiving with him. Hey, newsflash! No, you fucking don't! But you think you have to act like it because it's evolutionary success to not alienate family members. Anyway, I have an addendum here.
You know, character trumps a non-character.
Yeah, it's really important, you know, especially for America to realize that character trumps non-character. But like even the libs wouldn't act on it when it comes to family versus non-family.
Character trumps scum.
Yeah, but only sometimes with certain character categories. So what am I on about here? This is the addendum. So it's an addendum to the addendum that I'm not going to indulge because the addendum was all kinds of long too. You got to cut my time, but I just want to kind of prep you for what's to come.
I have to do an addendum, and I'm not even back home. I'm still on the same walk.
Yeah, it was the same day.
But I just listened to it back, and at one point I say that I would not steer toward my kid if my kid is an utter scumbag. And let me just be clear, you know, I meant in a way of vicious act after vicious act,
By the kid.
No remorse.
By the kid.
But, you know, it's still very complicated, right? Because I'm going to say the gray zone, where I don't know what I would do. You know, whether I would just swear off the kid and steer toward the majority of the kids who, let's say, I would believe are wonderful. Just wonderful children. But, you know, there has to be a gray zone where I wouldn't know what I would do.
It's a
And that's, I would say, anywhere between 10 and 15.
Oh, man.
Right?
I was so rigorous with this, but, you know, we can't do 20 minutes on it. I was so rigorous with this, but next time on No Avail, or maybe a few times after next time. But, you know, it's a pond. It's a pond. And I was talking about the motorboat. Oh, but no. It's porcupine. Yeah, so just keep in mind, it would have been much better if it were alive-in. Alive-in somewhere, but not here. And I just hope Steven, you know, if he ever sees this, what's coming up next on No Avail, I hope you don't hate me, Steven. The standout track from the record, but I didn't use the track. I had my own lyrics, and they're not the lyrics that would have been Steven's lyrics, but yeah. Super Bowl halftime show time. That's what I'm talking about. Bass. Can you hear me? Despite the bass, I bet you can. I bet you will, but it's cracking. It likes to crack when I record more often than when I don't. Now this right here is called Arriving Somewhere, but Not Here. I like to pretend it's alive-in somewhere, but not here. Another crack. I like to pretend things. When it comes to lyrics, as you will find out. Too much bass. I might appear to be like Derek. Oh God. I might appear to be like Derek. I must acquire arms, nonetheless. I might appear to be like Derek. I must acquire arms, nonetheless. I might appear to be like Derek. And sure enough, I must acquire arms, nonetheless. Derek would make it rain. Derek ran roughshod in prison. Derek would run amok alone. Derek ran roughshod in prison. But Derek also had a gang. Derek ran roughshod in prison. Derek partook in prison break. Derek partook in prison break. Derek ran roughshod with gang. Derek's the man who made it rain. Derek was armed and tatted. Derek ran roughshod in prison. Derek had his gang come along. Derek partook in prison break. Derek would do anything for ass. Derek partook in prison break. Derek ran roughshod with gang and alone at times. Derek would do anything for ass. Derek partook in prison break. Derek was armed and tatted. Derek would do anything for prime pussy and ass. Derek partook in prison break. Derek ran roughshod with gang. Derek ran amok solo. Derek fulfilled desires.
Derek fulfilled perverse desires. Don't feel too bad about it. Ye tale of the innocent and pure. Vanilla lanes. Don't feel too bad about it. Derek fulfilled perverse desires. Derek partook in prison break. Derek would make it rain. Don't feel too bad about it. Did you see the red mist block your heart? Vanilla lanes. Don't feel too bad about it. Ye tale of innocence. The sinner's caught away to your heart. Don't be like Derek, unless you just are. Did you feel the envy for the sons of man? Hear me, especially young men captured by MAGA. Don't be like Derek, unless you just are. Derek fulfilled perverse desires. Don't be like Derek, unless you just are. Derek fulfilled perverse desires. Don't be like Derek, unless you just are. Derek ran roughshod with gang. Derek partook in prison break. Derek would make it rain. Derek was suspect to decent men. Derek would make it rain. Derek was suspect. Derek partook in prison break. Derek was armed and tatted. I must acquire arms. Oddly, God, I might appear to be like Derek. I must acquire arms. Oddly, ironically. But Derek was suspect. But look at the jam I'm in. Up here in Canada, Derek was suspect. I must appear to be like Derek as I acquire arms. But I know full well Derek was suspect. Alive in somewhere, but not here. Derek was suspect. Derek partook in prison break. These are things that I just do not wish to do. But there is this one thing. I must acquire arms. And I'm nothing like ready, just as a man. I must acquire arms. But I'm nothing like ready. Multitude reasons, but I know in my heart I must acquire arms. I will appear to be like Derek. And these are things that I do not wish to do in earnest. But it's just the world that I live in. I must acquire arms, and I'm nothing like ready, just as a man. I must acquire arms, and I'm nothing like I see how Derek is. And I see how Yank is. And I won't cede territory. I must acquire arms. 'Cause I won't cede territory. As a Canadian and as a man who's fed up. No, I won't cede territory to avarice Yanks. I must acquire arms. But I'm not like Derek. I act on my own behalf, upon my own welfare. And as Yank has proven avarice, I must acquire arms. And though I may not want to, it's just the truth. Cracks at the truth. And I must acquire arms. Even though I'm nothing like Derek. And there are things I do not want to do. But I see the truth plain as day. In the cold light of day. On this fine February 17th, 2026 day. I see the truth plain as day. Even though I don't want to appear to be like Derek. And even though I might be. It's still important. Just sure enough that I acquire arms. And in fact, I know a guy. In fact, I know a guy. This is when Christian whack job comes in handy. And in fact, I know a guy. This is when Catholic whack job friend turned Jesus hack. He might come in handy. But God, I'm awful. I've been an awful friend, but he makes it hard. But he's a Derek of sorts. And for some reason, he has a lot of goodwill for me. Even though I'm quick to neg his lord. But he just might come in handy. Yeah. He's like a Derek of sorts. I have a friend who's a Catholic whack job. At the same time, he's like a Derek of sorts. Derek partook in prison break. It takes a true whack job. Derek partook in prison break. It takes a true whack job. Derek would do anything for ass. It takes a true sexual maniac. And just as the Yank is avarice at heart, Derek would do anything for ass and prime pussy. And as the Epstein files show, prime pussy just is young pussy for a lot of twisted men. And that explains why
Derek was armed and tatted. Derek was among the bad boys. And you gotta know, as many women out themselves in public as being hybristophilic, you just gotta know there's that much more who won't out themselves in public, will come up short, very short, will walk the line. And then there's all those who don't have the fortitude, the ovarian fortitude, to even admit it to themselves. The pussy craves Derek. Derek was armed and tatted. And there's many women, very often the feminists, well, they won't even admit it to themselves. Pussy just craves Derek. Derek partook in prison break. And as the hybristophilia stats teach us, well, there's surely that much more. Either who walk the line or who can't fess to themselves. Derek was armed and tatted. Derek partook in prison break. Derek played hurt people too. Just look the other way. Derek was armed and tatted. And Derek offered protection, evolutionary, psychologically speaking. Alive and somewhere, but not here. Don't feel too bad about it. Ye innocent pure men, ye men of lamb's soul, ye men who are too squeamish, ye men who think the Danes never actually want to be choked, ye men of innocent soul and heart, don't feel too bad about it. Sometimes women just want to be choked, especially by Derek. Derek partook in prison break. Derek was also jaded. Derek partook in prison break. Derek was also jaded at heart. Derek ran roughshod on innocence with gang or solo. Derek went ape shit. Derek was jaded. Derek partook in prison break. Don't feel too bad about it. But at the same time, these Yanks are avarice, and hence I must acquire arms. I might appear to be like Derek when and if I succeed with the assistance of my whack job friend. I might appear to be like Derek, and I'll lay down the burden, because in fact, when life gives you lemons, you must acquire arms. And even if you end up seeming like Bubba, oh, remember that? Plain old Bubba? Well, even then, I must acquire arms. And I'm just not ready for this type of medicine, just as a man. And I don't much care for Derek, but I must acquire arms. And I hope I don't clash with Derek. And have to stand my ground and bear arms as Yanks get ever more avarice, contemptuous. Yanks are a lot like Derek, many of them just as a peoples. And it's helped me remember life is about fists. Sometimes dames just want to be choked. Don't blame the observer and messenger and even doer voluntarily. Don't kink shame the doer. And don't try to pin it all on Epstein. Some dames just want to be choked. It's why there's choking most of the time in the best cases. The truth is, the feminists want to pretend away. The baby needs daddy. And, MSM norms. The baby needs daddy. And Derek will do. Derek partook in Prison Break. Baby needs daddy. I'm wrapping up. Derek partook in Prison Break. Derek just might fit the bill. Okay. Derek, okay, 20 minutes. There's another one. And I'm like, let's do a short 2-minute one. It's Derek's fault. It's all Derek's fault. But nonetheless, I must aspire to acquire arms. Nonetheless, yeah, I'm gonna get ever more insecure about the future. A lot of controversy as the halftime show. So one of the things I'm most proud about in terms of me is that I've never not only watched any part of the Super Bowl, but I've never watched any of that halftime show stuff. Of course, you can't escape the clips, but I've never actually tuned in. Even before 2008, when I had the TV thing, it would never occur to me to watch any of that. You know, the hype itself just unhypes me. There's just so much hype. You know, Super Bowl halftime show, the hype crap is even worse than like blockbuster, summer, blockbuster, big release. Like, oh, Avatar, I'm so hyped because the hype told me to be hyped. But then like the Super Bowl halftime show is worse. And the Super Bowl itself, you know, football is football, you fucking morons. And what you guys do is like rugby or something, but it's not soccer, it's football. You guys call the wrong thing football. But anyway, that's not even my cultural grievance. I'm just LARPing as some kind of, you know, anal European. Oh, it's not soccer, it's football. Yeah, whatever. It's a sport, and those athletes, you know, they wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire, but maybe they would. But they wouldn't do much more than that. Yeah, oh, poor kid. Kid had to cancel. Brief commentary on Kid Rock coming up in a bit here, but just to point out, you know, all kinds of controversy, but I can't even comment on it to verify whether I endorse the controversy or not. Yeah, see, YouTubers have to explain it. They have to explain what happened. But just to point out, you know, I've often been like envious of these successful artists, not even because I'm an would-be artist. I'm just envious because I have my own favorite artists. So like they never get invited to the Super Bowl halftime show, which sucks.
So I wouldn't want them to be invited. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I get like secondhand envy because, you know, it's got B in it. It's bad. So it's like there's another great group where like the first thing starts with bad, but it's not so lame as to be like Bad Bunny. No, it's, you know, bad. Well, I think you know what it is. And it's actual good music, but they never had their Super Bowl halftime show. But it would have kind of ruined their credibility. You know, if Bad Religion did a Super Bowl halftime show, it would have ruined their credibility. But it doesn't ruin Bad Bunny's credibility. So just to point out, you know, I bet the music sucks. I'm not going to find out, but I bet the music sucks. Everyone's like, oh, it's such great music. It's such great music. He totally deserves his recognition. I fucking bet you it's as overrated as Taylor. See, slowly but surely, you know, Taylor... Like some of those, even the chick fans are realizing, Taylor's not so great. I'm disappointed by the latest record. Yeah. I'm not disappointed with any of the music I chose in my life. I'm not disappointed at all. In fact, it just gets better and better because I choose the right kind of music. But yeah, the MAGAs hate this guy because, I don't know, he's inclusive. But I just hate him because I had secondhand envy because, yeah. But, you know, it's paradoxical, too, because I don't want that prestige anyway, but maybe I do. I want it for my groups, yeah. Some part of me wants to see my favorite acts perform on the Super Bowl halftime show, but a bigger part of me doesn't want it. But, yeah, I have to admit, some small part of me, or maybe like one-third part of me wants to see Bad Religion and Steven Wilson get the recognition they deserve, but it's never going to happen. Yeah, it's just so fucking lame, you know. It's just, I'm just so tired, you know. I've proven that it's lame. I've been around for a while on the internet. I've proven all this shit is lame, and it's like people still don't get it. So I guess I'll just keep proving it.
From spite, plenty of really good people are spiteful. No,
I don't even know who Michelle Tafoya is, truth be told, but it doesn't matter. It never matters for my purposes. You know, because there's so many of them who are batting for the wrong team still, who have a media presence. Even in this late hour, they continue batting for the wrong team. The other teams bat too, but you know what I mean. But Michelle Tafoya, so she's among the real Americans, or something thereabouts. I'm sure she would count herself among the real Americans, but here she disclosed that she's a fake real American, right? During halftime tonight, I'm going to do something I've never done before, fold laundry. So you're a fake real American, Michelle Tafoya, and no one puts it in those artful terms, but that's what it is. You're just another fake real American like so many of the other ones, but whatever. That's me giving into the old populist framing that there's fake and real people. There actually is, but it has to do with, you know, not what kind of patriot clothes you wear or whatnot. It has to do whether you're willing to dispense truths even when it's really disadvantageous to you personally. You know, when you're going to get tarred and feathered and you still go ahead and you just dispense the truths. Yeah, that's what makes you a real person even, not just American. Yeah, I mean, you see through the nationhood and you fixate on personhood. But yeah, Michelle Tafoya, you're a fake real American. Like so many of them, you know, fold laundry. But I won't pretend to know the feeling, because I too, you know, am emancipated from certain tasks, just psychologically. You know, I don't get help, but I don't get help. You know, I don't hire help. But I won't pretend to know the feeling. Because this is, you know, there's kind of status quo. You know, why waste time? Why waste time? Whether they're folded or not, you know, they're going to be every bit as comfy when you put them on. So yeah, I won't pretend to know the feeling, and you're fake. Why so many comedians go MAGA? From hosting Helen Lewis. I'm not going to watch it. I can't afford to. Because this segment will be way longer if I watch it. This is going to be a short segment. So they asked a question. It's a question that's worth asking and answering. And I think I know the answer. It's one word, you know, pandering. Just like the influencers pander to MAGAs more because, you know, it's an easier sell. Yeah, when the audience is room IQ, room temperature IQ, it's always an easier sell. You fill out the stadium easier and such, the bigger stadium. But I don't like this, even though this is a fair enough question. I don't like the way the video is titled. You want to see how they titled the video? Like, this is a fine thing to ask, and it's fine to observe that, you know, some comedians have decided to pander to MAGA. But then the way they titled the video, it's just plain nauseating. Are you ready? Why has comedy become so right-wing? See, I even mocked it in the title. Comedy right-wing. Yeah. No, it's just because comedians are doing it doesn't mean it's comedy. David and Helen. No. Comedy must be subversive. They're not subversive. I guess they're subversive when it comes to the norms and rules of Blue America. So yeah, okay, right-wing comedy can be subversive, sure, insofar as there's a bunch of blue Americans who like have sacred cows and think that mocking the vulnerable will be destructive to the vulnerable. And yeah, I can see how that's kind of funny to, you know, poke at. But it's not like right-wing. No, because they got their own sacred cows. They got their own stupid sacred cows. You know, the only right kind of comedy is liberal comedy. The comedy that goes after everything, no matter how many sacred cows there are amidst the everything. And then if you want to say like, you know, some illiberal can make fun of the liberal for having their own liberal sacred cows. But what's the liberal sacred cow? Like, we really like intellectual freedom, you know, small L liberal, suffice it to say. Oh, we like intellectual freedom and a few other things like individual rights and, you know, you gotta look out for number one. Yeah, okay, try to make fun of that, you illiberals. Yeah, try to make fun of me because I really value intellectual freedom and the workings of my own brain. Yeah, go ahead, I don't care what you are, left wing, right wing. Try to make fun of me for anything I believe. I fucking defy you to. But yeah, it's just as stupid. It's just comedy becomes so real. It's just, you know, fair weather sacred cows. They'll just ignore their own sacred cows and fixate on the other stupid ones. But I'll make fun of all of that. The only thing that, you know, no one should ever make fun of is no avail. Then you're being really offensive. The Germans are worried about the U.S. They're trying to help with words. Trying to help from overseas. Let's hear it.
Stay inside. Keep your doors closed. They are coming.
That's kind of fun to do even when ICE isn't waiting for you outside. Yeah, it's better to stay inside, but now they have extra reasons. Yeah, should lock your doors always anyway. It just takes one twisted fuck, you know? I remember bowling for Columbine. Michael Moore was like advertising like Canada as the land where no one locks their doors. Yeah, even Canadians aren't that naive. But wait, what?
These are warnings.
She's a lot louder than the... Yes.
These are warnings that people shout to their neighbors when ICE is turning up in their street.
Thank you, European German Parliament. I couldn't have figured it out without you.
Masked men raiding houses, imprisoning children, spreading an atmosphere of fear and arbitrariness.
Yeah.
Colleagues, no one can tell me that this is simply regular law enforcement. It has to stop, and it has to be condemned by European lawmakers. I grew up with a strong belief.
No, it's not a full clip. That's okay. I think we got the gist from what she wants, but, you know, I was there like pretty much a year ago, and you had to do it in February 2026, so I'm ahead of the curve when it comes to the parliament people. But I guess they have their own show to run.
au cours des prochains mois. Le gouvernement mettra en œuvre de nouveaux plans ambitieux visant à accélérer le développement durable au pays.
Yeah, these noises you're hearing, that's the sound of a bilingual country.
À réduire les facteurs liés à l'énergie des familles et entreprises et à protéger
This
la
is what a bilingual country looks like. Take notes, Yanks.
richesse naturelle du Canada.
Or not.
Canada's ambitious.
Yeah, see?
Canada's
He just switched.
ambitious
He
n'est la
just...
richesse naturelle du Canada.
See? You can be at least bilingual and bicultural. Yeah, that's where I tap out in terms of variability of cultural, linguistic kind is, yeah, we can be bicultural. That's quite enough. But even that's sometimes very challenging. Listen. Yeah. There's no like translations or like even the deaf guy is not there to, or not the deaf guy, but the guy who does the deaf translations. Like even he's not there to help me out on this. Yeah, on us on the West Coast, we're just supposed to know what he's saying when he talks in his bi talk.
Et à l'énergie des familles et entreprises.
Where's the
Et à
translation?
protéger la richesse naturelle du Canada.
Where's the translation?
Canada is ambitious. Canada is an ambitious nation of builders and explorers. We mapped this continent before the Americans had even left St. Louis. We built a transcontinental railway in 5 years, the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Sick burn by Carney.
We created a healthcare system that became a model for the world.
Well, I don't know. I think that was the French, right? So I guess close enough.
Government, Canada's new government, shares that ambition. We've already removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade, and we're catalyzing hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in nation-building projects. We're doubling our defense spending.
I think he meant First Nations building, but he said nations building. But I'm sure he meant First Nations, right? That would help you if you think you can do nation building in this late hour.
The end of this decade. And we're working to ensure that core Canadian capabilities, including in AI, in quantum, in cyber, and critical minerals, will maximize the economic benefit for Canadians of these new security imperatives.
Yeah. So
now we need to
yes, wants to do a lot of stuff, like a whole lot of stuff.
Fairly and fast. Les valeurs canadiennes, telles que l'inclusion, la solidarité, l'équité, la durabilité et l'ambition, ne sont pas des idéaux abstraits, mais des guides pratiques qui font partie intégrante de notre identité. Notre tâche est de nous en inspirer pour continuer à bâtir en ces temps révolutionnaires.
Maybe even the U.S. is not going to live on the count of the U.S. Yeah, maybe the U.S. is going to stay alive because of the people in Blue America who are trying to stick up for themselves because the state's not coming to help.
Si le Canada doit assumer deux rôles à la fois. Premièrement, il doit être une bastion de sécurité et de prospérité pour nos citoyens. Nous devons défendre notre souveraineté, sécuriser nos frontières, protéger nos communautés et bâtir une économie qui offre des possibilités
dub this for us on the West Coast.
À tous les Canadiens et toutes les Canadiennes. That's why we're undertaking the strongest tightening of the criminal justice system in generations. It's why we're making the largest investment in defense in generations. It's why we're securing our borders to more CBSA agents.
It's just a lot of stuff, man. Maybe like pick half of this stuff or 1/3 of it. And do your best to deliver on that. Prioritize the most important and just deliver. Right? So protect Canada, qua Canada, from the mad folk below. Yeah, you know. But try to do that without lifting the retirement age too much. See, that's just like two demands that I have. I don't care about any of that other shit, though you'll say it all loops into it, but I doubt all of it loops into it. No, I'm just trying to please the business class along the way, of trying to uplift ordinary Americans or whatever. You're still telling yourself that, you know, it's like you do one by doing the other. You please the business class, whatever, not the class, but you please the business interests. And by doing that, you uplift all the, you know, unemployable and inept Canadians. Well, I don't think so, bud. But yeah, maybe it's more important to keep Canada safe and sovereign than it is to, you know, uplift those inept Canadians. The vulnerable. Yeah, he's talking the vulnerable talk, you know. He all but says intersectionality. He doesn't say intersectionality, but he all but says intersectionality when he wants to placate the stupid Canadian progs who, like, you know, get excited when they hear anyone, even the, you know, most business savvy of the business savvy. Like, yeah, if they say that they care about you as a LGBTQ plus, he actually said plus, and he actually said like two-spirit or something earlier. I dare not look for it because I'm probably going to land on a French part. But But yeah, it just seems to me, just one man's opinion here, it seems to me like the Carney Coalition is trying to do way too much. And as a result, will probably spread itself too thin. Yeah. You ought to de-emphasize diversity, Carney, you know. At least for the time being. Yeah, de-emphasize a lot of stuff and just fixate on, you know, keeping this little leaf a sovereign leaf, you know. Or at least the west coast of Canada. Keep it sovereign.
Greater surveillance resources. And it's why we're building one Canadian economy and launching nation building projects to connect and transform our country.
Yeah, nation building, like you must have meant First Nations. But I really don't want to have to encounter masked ice chuds myself. I really don't. But if you try to do too many things, you know, I just might in like a few years' time. I might have to battle ice myself in Coquitlam.
We will give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take from us.
Yeah, sure.
A core mission, while we're doing that, core mission of our government is to lower costs for Canadians.
Yes.
That's why on day one we canceled.
But like the markets either do that or they don't. Like you of all people should know that. Lower costs. You know, for every coupon you give, a little bit of the market, a little trickle of market dies a sad death. For every coupon the government gives out. Nah, I'm not against coupons. I'm just saying, they really are. Like, no jokes now, they really are trying to do, like, a whole lot of stuff. But I just wish they would prioritize, you know, security. And so, yeah, spend more on defense. Cut social programs if you have to, but spend more on defense. Just as even bluster, sure, you know. Because Fraudster's kind of, you know, he backs off on Greenland, and so he may just back off on Canada, too, if he sees that Canada's going to engage in bluster.
The divisive consumer carbon tax. That's why we've cut income taxes for 22 million Canadians. That's why we've cut taxes for first-time homebuyers.
But not second-time homebuyers.
Reduced tolls on the Confederation Bridge and Atlantic Ferry fares. That's why we're launched, and we have launched Build Canada Homes, to build affordable housing construction at a pace not seen since the end of the Second World War.
Yeah, so I'll be the token conservative here, and I'm going to do the line. I think you all know what the line is, the token fiscal conservative line. Who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay for all this stuff? Yeah, I think in 40 years' time, we're going to find out who's going to pay for all this stuff. It's going to be Canadians who are going to be retiring in their mid-70s. That's who's going to pay for all this stuff. And that may be a step too far.
This past fall, we launched the automatic federal benefits for up to 5.5 million.
I'll do anything for love of country. I'll do anything for love of country. But I won't do that.
This past fall, we launched the automatic federal benefits for up to 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that our most vulnerable get the money to which they are entitled.
I just might qualify for that because I only work 4 days now, but I don't think they take that into account. They don't take like the absolute amount you earn. They take the 5-day work week as the norm, and then if you just de-employ yourself, if you're voluntarily underemployed, you can't qualify for low income.
We also made the National School Food Program permanent, so the kids have the nutrition they need at school.
Yeah, just keep it coming.
With a relentless focus on improving affordability to help Canadians get ahead. I said we had to do two things. The first is to be a bastion. The second is to be a beacon, an example to a world that's at sea. In a time of rising populism and ethnic nationalism, Canada can show how diversity is a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah.
In a time of democratic decline, we can show how rights can be protected and equal freedoms endure. And in a time of rising walls and thickening borders, we can demonstrate how a country can be both open and secure, welcoming and strong, principled and powerful.
Yeah, everything.
There are literally billions of people who
if we just put our minds to it
to what we have
and work together as fellows.
A pluralistic society that works. A public square that's loud, diverse, and free. An economy that delivers broadly shared prosperity. Democracy.
Yeah, if I consult the economic data, I don't think we're going to see the broadness that we saw in like the 2010s, 2000s, 90s. I don't think it's going to be as broadly spread out as it has been. Although, whatever, a Marxist would say, it was never broadly spread out. Not like in the Soviet Union, that was broadly spread out. Yeah, the pain was broadly spread out. Whatever, a Marxist-Leninist, maybe.
Protect the most vulnerable against the powerful. Now, Canada can't solve all the world's problems, but we can show that another way is possible. That the arc of history isn't destined to be warped towards authoritarianism and exclusion, it can still bend towards progress and justice.
Well, it has no arc. It's arcless. History is arcless. Say it with me, everyone. History is arcless. You know, it's nowhere near as compelling a mythos as the belief that it has one or another type of arc. But in truth, it's just a bunch of shit that happens because we're like quasi-evolved, a mammalian brain having apes. But, you know, despite everything, it's still better that this suit's in charge than the other suit who tends to want to... You can just tell Paul Yver really wants to capitulate to the original MAGA, the American MAGA. That's why he's got, you know, 1/4 of a MAGA of his own.
Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts.
Yeah.
That he wasn't into, like, 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
But
just thinking about that topic some more, the stupid topic. The 15 is different than 5 topic, and less said about this, the better. Because it's going to come across in a way where it's like I got some personal stake or I'm defensive. And I'm not defensive. All these people should have a far more negative view of human history and even human nature, really. But human history here, let's say, you know, insofar as it's vettable, and we can just pretty much all agree that, you know, they did the wedlock thing. Like, it's not like she was like 16 and they did the wedlock when she was 16 and, you know, maybe even 15. No. They did wedlock with very, very young prepubescent girls, and it wasn't just the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It was the norm till about 5 minutes ago in terms of evolutionary time. It was the norm till about 5 minutes ago. So yeah, I mean, why do I have a more negative view of humanity and human history per the activities that were the routine activities in human history? No historian will deny this. You know, that sometimes late adolescent teenage boys would wed pre-adolescent. And, you know, sometimes, over 18 guys would wed, you know, prepubescent, pre-adolescent girls. And I don't know if there's any nations that were exempt, you know, even before, up until about 5 minutes ago. I don't think so. We're talking evolutionary time. No nation, no culture was exempt from this, as far as I know, as far as I've studied it. So why aren't all these people even more, far more mortified at this history and at their ancestors? Gotta love my ancestors. How do you square this? You know, I don't know anyone who's got a more negative view of the occurrences that were routine in human history than I do. And yeah, part of that is the freaking pedo stuff, but a lot of it has to do with other, you know, just lack of indoor plumbing and stuff like that. But, you know, and the wars and all that, and there's just no end to the, you know, there's no way to do hygiene, all this stuff. But yeah, among the bad things, you know, it wasn't just the epidophilia, it was also pedophilia. There were pedophilic marriages, but more frequently, epidophilic. But notice how I caught on to that word, like back in the summer, and did like comedy segments on it, epidophilia. And then like there's a bunch of Johnny-come-latelys that only catch wind of it like over the course of the last couple of weeks. But I caught it first, epidophilia. And yeah, it should be a word. Would you like to annihilate the term epidophilia to make it distinct from pedophilia? Do you think that's a useless distinction? Do you think Megyn Kelly should be banished off the face of the earth or off the face of the commentariat earth? The exodus of Megyn Kelly, it's happening. Okay, it's not happening, but, you know, they kind of want to. They just know that she's too much of a powerhouse in terms of views and probably not going to be replaced easily. And, you know, traffic's in enough of their other lies is useful enough for them. But whether we're talking to people above her in terms of the actual power or just the fucking peasants who watch her, they're calling for her head. because she said it's different. A 15-year-old is different than a 5-year-old. They're calling for her head. So why are all these people, pro their ancestors? Why are they pro-humanity if it's really as despicable as they're trying to make it out to be? You should all be even bigger, grander pessimists than I am, but you're not. How do you square it? No one's gonna freaking challenge you. No one's gonna hold your feet to the fire the way I would. On this, it's very revelatory. It's very revelatory when people are even more upset and really just losing their shit over stuff that was very routine. But it was a different time. As I often joke, it was a different time. But in this case, the ire is so white hot that I don't think it matters that it shouldn't matter there was a different time. Whether it was your, Cro-Magnon man ancestor or your great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy who did more than pinch or harass or, do something. No. They wedlocked these sometimes prepubescent girls and impregnated them. They impregnated them. 13-year-old pregos were a norm throughout human history. 14-year-old pregos were a norm. It was worse than catcalling, a lot worse than catcalling. And it was the norm. And if you're going to be this freaking intolerant of Megyn Kelly's point, again, you can disagree with the point, Yeah, maybe sometimes, the 5-year-old will just forget it, whereas the 15-year-old won't. So I get that curveball, but I'm going to try not to do a mad scientist dilemma here, where it's the mad scientist says, the moral agent has to assault one of the two, or the mad scientist will see to it that both are assaulted, both the 15-year-old and the 5-year-old. So what, should the moral agent then just let's just say, the mad scientist will assault everyone, unless the moral agent assaults one of the two, the 15-year-old or the 5-year-old. What, these people will all just freeze because they wouldn't know because it's all equally bad? I hate this. I know how this is going to come across. It's going to come across like I'm being defensive. I'm not. No, it's just, pessimists are missing a huge freaking, opening here. There's an opening here. If it's really that bad, and factually no one will dispute, it was the norm. And again, more than catcalling was the norm. So you should all be pessimists. That's my point. You should all be pessimists about human history and human nature. It's not that difficult to grant. Instead of taking it all out on poor Megyn Kelly.
And the first charge, felony solicitation of prostitution, which he was indicted for in 2006, that doesn't refer to any particular victims, right, or any particular age of any victims. It's just a standalone felony solicitation of prostitution statute. But then, at the behest of the feds, a second state-level violation was added, and that was procuring person under 18 for prostitution. Person singular. And the person who was identified to whom Epstein procured for prostitution while they were under 18 was a particular person. She didn't really do anything wrong. She's not one of these people who seem to make a whole livelihood out of being an alleged Epstein victim. I haven't heard a single thing from her since 2008 or even earlier. And I find her credible, actually. Unlike, for example, Virginia Roberts-Giuffre or a multitude of others who have tried to cash out on this whole
I'm still very suspicious that the free press wants all this said. Very suspicious, but Trace is making good individual points so far.
Because you can find, you can watch her interview with the Palm Beach police investigator from when she had by then turned 18. You can read the transcript of her testimony to the grand jury that she was summoned to give actually under protest because she had no interest in prosecuting Epstein. She said that her sexual encounters with him were consensual. She was a bit unusual in that Epstein often didn't have full intercourse with any of these girls, but he did with her, she said, literally the day before her 18th birthday. People are going to think I'm making this up, but check the record. And there had been some sexual contact prior to that as well, but in terms of the full-blown sexual intercourse, it was the day before her 18th birthday. Florida has the highest age of consent in the country and the world. Only a handful of states have an age of consent that's 18. I'm in New Jersey right now. It's 16. New York is 17.
It was a different state. Yeah, that's your moral
California is also 18.
Golden rule.
Florida has the highest age of consent in the country and the world. Only a handful of states have an age of consent that's 18. I'm in New Jersey right now. It's 16. New York is 17.
A different region.
16 throughout New England. It varies. Man. California is also 18, but then Washington State is 16, etc. So it was unlawful in Florida to have sexual contact with this girl.
And his lawyers also didn't even try to undermine her credibility.
Difference factor is another factor. It's why they all hate Brad Pitt.
Which they did for some others. So that's what he pleaded guilty to.
Brad Pitt,
that was the victim that was
even if she's 24, it's still bad if Brad Pitt does it. Because
so I just want to say that constitutes
decades older.
Pedophilia. And it would have been legal in
across the border,
37 states in the United States in terms of the lawfulness of consensual sexual activity with that person. Now, if it was to be called prostitution or commercial sex acts or trafficking or something, that would be a different story. But in terms of just like on its face consensual sexual activity between an adult of any age and a nearly 18-year-old who's
it's epithedophilia. It's epithedophilia. But, you know, don't whitewash everything. Oh, God, there's a lot more left. I think he's going to whitewash just about everything. But, yeah, you know, so far so good. I guess it's possible. It must be possible to still do your job, enough of it, and to party this hard. You know, with a bunch of people who, I guess, don't know anything about what's decent and indecent and constitutional and unconstitutional politically and just responsible. Right? Let's go to that first. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's not him. You know, it's possible and maybe even probable that he still does enough of his job, but not well. But they're saying this is kind of proof that he doesn't even do his job. I'm saying no, he probably still does his job, just not well. It's not his fault this went viral. No, I blame these guys. These guys, who, by the way, I didn't even know Canada was involved. You know, I find out the final score by watching the viral clip. Yeah, come on, guys. Just, you know, it's not a good administration. You don't have to pretend to like them. Just because you're athletes doesn't mean you're that fucking stupid. Don't prove the stereotype. No, they always prove the stereotype. They always prove the stereotype. But at least once upon a time, the director of the FBI wasn't like, you know, the worst thing we can say about them is that they were really Machiavellian and amoral and stuff. And just kind of, I've got a job to do and I'm going to do it and I'm going to advance my country's interests no matter how many people outside the country and maybe inside the country, no matter how many of those lives are going to be ruined. Yeah, once upon a time, for a long time, in fact, you know, that's the worst thing that could be said about these, you know, FBI directors. And Kash Patel made it different. But we knew that, right? What we didn't know is that even in 2026, athletes are going to conform to the stereotype of being know-nothings. Or, you know, maybe they've investigated all matters and found that, yeah, they still love the administration, or at least, you know, the director. I don't even know this song, but my song was better. My song was better. My song was better. Like, everyone at work knew the score and everyone was bummed out. You know, even these Indians who have been here only a few months were bummed out that Canada lost. But none of them knew about the viral clip. It's like everyone at work knows about the crap they're not supposed to know about, and they don't know about the fun stuff. All right, I can do much more on this, but I gotta cut my, like, third time in this video, I'm saying I gotta cut my time.
Mr. Teal, do you have any comments about Palantir's surveillance of the American people, sir? Or any of your connections to Jeffrey Epstein? I think people are rather concerned.
Too enmeshed in
about that last particular one.
Busy, serious man.
You're setting up a Big Brother surveillance system, and people know it, sir.
Now I'm going to talk to randos.
rock my shades and keep my eye on the prize.
People want this surveillance tech being used against them.
They should have thought that way before they voted the way they voted. Peter Thiel, and I know about the Antichrist. And I'm very
Any
much
comments at all on
devoted
Epstein?
to living the haste life.
Actions. You're meeting with them.
A deep fake. It was my own deep fake of me.
People are waking up to what you're doing there, sir. That's why we're here covering this.
See, it's almost like Vlad the Mad. You know, Vlad wanks the secrets, and others who are of that mold, maybe they don't wank the secrets, but they don't feel the need to, like, you know, own the guy who's recording them and owning them because they've just got their eyes on a prize that much. It doesn't matter that I'm going to look like I'm dodging questions that I really, if I'm innocent, I really should answer easily, but no, I just won't say anything. I guess that's it. I guess he's gonna let him go. I would have been rougher on it. You know, if I'm the guy recording, I would have been rougher. I would have heckled him. I would have done the Antichrist thing, but you're just...
Wow, Peter Thiel was booking it.
Well, he's
that
a
man
busy,
picked up
he's
the
a very
pace.
important, busy man.
The second the word Epstein came out, it seemed he started getting a little faster. But stone cold Peter Thiel.
Yeah, not even guilt. I don't know.
Of course, co-founded Palantir with Alex Karp, who is still here.
Yeah.
And
there's my Palantir segment. I hope you all are happy. Derek was suspect is suspect on account of being copyright. Hang on. Oh, where's the stupid? Yeah, see details. So I took it for a spin on the second channel, and then it is blocked, but I don't want to go back and change anything about it. It's the raw. He doesn't care. He doesn't care for the music part. Steven's cool, but raw's not cool. Yeah, Vince McMahon's not cool, even though he doesn't run the show anymore. But they're so fucking grubby. I don't want to change anything. What territories? I don't care about monetization. I wouldn't do it if you begged me to, unless it was like $1 million and then I could stop working, then I would do it. But, you know, just chump change. I don't want your monetization chump change. But I use some, you know, Raw is War clips from like 1999. Yeah, stupid. Like just a little bit of like The Undertaker being, you know, sacrificed by Austin on the cross. And it's like, no, it's too much. It's from 1999. Which territories? We're gonna have to go back and edit this crap out. I really don't want to. It ended up looking so good. But I may have to make it smaller, or else it's not going to be viewed in some territories. I guess it doesn't matter if it's like some, you know, unwanted territories, then maybe, you know. God, I sped it up too. I sped it up, and it's still like so many different chunks, you know. You know, I guess I had like 8 seconds between the things to try to get it distracted, but it didn't work. It was still caught on to every single chunk. But where can't it be seen? Oh. Oh. Just here? Just the one spot? It's a big spot, but you know what? So much the better. Well, no. It's suspiciously quicker, right? The video's longer. What's the final? It's up like, you know, it's a near 4-hour video. Where's the thing? Where's the thing where it tells me? It's got to be here somewhere. The length. It's freaking 3-hour, 40-minute video, and yet, oh crap! It just, the time remaining is growing.
This is the first time I've seen that the time remaining in the export grows. I've never seen it grow. It's like the software didn't recognize how insane I got with this. It's freaking 3 hour, 40-minute video, something like that. Oh man, it's gonna keep growing. It's gonna keep growing and I'm gonna be late. So what is the time? Oh, it's the 20th and it's almost noon. Oh, okay, 53 and then 52. You best be sliding back now. 51, okay, there. But I've never seen it like spike. It's like the software didn't register initially when the export started just how long the video was. Oh, man. Yeah. Support them or you're an ingrate. Support them no matter what they do or you're an ingrate. And it's pretty much all my life I kind of got it, that there's something profoundly wrong that every culture can't think their way out of this. Support them. They're dupes who sign up for stuff. And they know they're going to get in trouble unless they mindlessly obey. Even if you can prove that it's unconstitutional what they're being ordered to do. No, and just you watch. They will keep obeying him and he will keep getting madder and madder and they'll keep obeying. And it's going to have to be a world war. Carney just said, right? Carney just said, we're going to send... It's January 20th, 2026, and I've lived to see the PM of Canada say they'll send troops to Greenland to protect against American forces. That's what I've lived to see. That's what we're all living to see. Because America had far too many warped human beings in it. And the other guys weren't that good either. There just wasn't enough mature humanity. But really, the warped, the personality cult warped, they've enabled all this. And intellectuals are just playing catch up to where I am and where I've been since the get-go. All my misgivings are being, come to fruition. But, you ain't getting paid for it. You ain't getting no... accolation, titles, no. It doesn't matter that I got there first. It doesn't matter that I got there first. Not just with the troop support thing, but with so many other things. And, it just kind of... You'd think it would be enough to demotivate me, but I'm as motivated as ever. It really hates me. It's at 56 minutes now. Number of minutes have passed. I'm not ironic when I give props to Andrew Coyne. People want to just shit on conservatism now, like the word. But just because there's really cretinous social conservatives, it doesn't mean that you've debunked fiscal conservatism, you progs and others. Fiscal conservatism is much needed in a world where it's 38 trill plus. God, it's funny. I know off muscle memory the American federal government's debt, but I don't know. I don't think I can even hazard a guess as to what the Canadian one is. Whatever, to save face, I'll just look it up and follow up with the facts and figures on the Canadian debt. Or just not upload this. Because, it is embarrassing that I can't even hazard a guess what Canadia's debt is. But I guess Canada doesn't matter nearly as much. Okay, so it's 54 now. So it's being chronologically proper again. Don't you be chronologically heterodox, you time remaining. It's the Venezuelan connection. We're going to miss the flight. We're going to miss the flight because... See, 55! What's wrong with you? I'm not even doing stuff with Olapi anywhere else. I'm not doing stuff and it's being really unfriendly. We're going to miss the stopgap connection. But yeah, Andrew Coyne is, is one of the few fiscal restrained people. And that's needed, just like conservatism and political philosophy is... Actually, no, I'm going to do that later, yeah. It's nothing like this cretinous social conservative. The conservatism in political philosophy just says, like, you know what, you really shouldn't be utilitarians if you plan to really be obsessed with public policy and what kind of political economy we have and what's good for the future. We can't do that along the lines of any kind of utilitarian grounds, act, rule. What were the other ones? I forget now, but yeah, it's kind of, governance should not be aiming to maximize the best possible outcomes, because then it's almost inevitable you'll trample on individuals and individual rights and creative individuals, and, no avail.
20 minutes ago, from behind.
That's right. People don't always see me coming. I'm like a little Tasmanian devil that just gets, and so like.
Yeah, fuck the baby. This is stupid.